Welcome back. I'm Dan Schneier. That's Jacob Gibbs. This is Beyond the Box Score, brought to you by Fantasy Football Today, where we will be taking a look at Jacob's rankings, and we are going to dismantle and depict's not the right word, dismantle and derail the rankings that I feel are just not right. And there's still some players I feel like he's not given the respect that they deserve. And we'll find out today if he agrees or disagrees. But we're going to be talking rookies: Travion Henderson, RJ Harvey, Colston Loveland, Matthew Golden, Travis Hunter, players that Jacob and I were very high on, who have gotten off to a ridiculously slow start. Before we do that, Jacob, of those players that I just named, which one are you most confident in and least confident in moving forward?
Is it ridiculous for the rookies to start slow? No, not really. I think maybe more ridiculous is our reaction to this so far. And so most confident, least confident. I'm going to give least confident to Loveland, which is not going to make Beyond the Box Score people feel good. But rookie tight end seasons are sometimes really slow. And, sometimes it doesn't even happen until year 2. And I haven't seen any signs of life, anything that's like, okay, he just needs, more playing time. Like he's winning all the time. To me, he looks like a rookie tight end. He moves well, but I think he's learning a complicated offense. And part of the Loveland thesis was that there was target ambiguity at the top, that we didn't know if there was going to be a clear-cut wide receiver 1. And so based off of some of the target domination that we've seen from him in his past and the route running that we've seen from him, like the acumen there, that he could elevate beyond what like most tight ends are able to do target share wise. But through 2 weeks, Rome Odunze is an alpha wide receiver 1. And we're definitely going to get into that more as we do these rest of season rankings. So I'll say Loveland I'm least confident in, and most confident, I think, has got to be probably Travion Henderson based off of the research that I laid out, looking at similar running backs. I think he profiles really well as a late season running back. If you missed that, that was on the Monday show with Adam, that Beyond the Box Score that we do, where we recap the previous week each week with Adam Azer. But I do want to throw out Matthew Golden. Did you see his average separation score in week 2?
Phenomenal.
The third highest single game score of any player in any week since the start of 2024.
The tape backed that up, by the way.
Yep. So I'll throw him in as an honorable mention.
Yeah, look, today is all about accountability. We're going to talk about some disappointing players that Beyond the Box Score was high on, but we're also going to discuss if it's time to panic on these players. I think the reality is with rookies, we'd all like them to get off to an amazing start. Last year, Malik Neighbors, a few others kind of set that tone. But a lot of the times what you're banking on and why you're buying these rookies is for the fantasy playoffs and is for that second half of the season. So what we need to figure out is if these guys can be there. And some guys are already there. Tyler Warren, Emeka Ibuka, these are guys who have already hit. But there's other players who we want to discuss today who just aren't rookies, but have been a little bit disappointing. Calvin Ridley, someone we were higher on. DJ Moore, we weren't high on, but is still looking like a potential bust. Isaiah Pacheco, that's been a really interesting situation to track, Jacob. Watching that Chiefs offense, man, I don't know what is going on. I've never seen an Andy Reid offense look like this, especially in the run game. But then there's also some really exciting players we want to get to that Jacob and I were high on this offseason. We had Zay Flowers in our breakout show. Great start for him. I was high on Deebo Samuel, Jacob's boy, Bashal Tootin. I'm still mad I lost that bid for him in my home league, Jacob. $5 going once, going twice. So $6. And somebody got that in. It was just so devastating. We're going to talk about a lot of those players today. But before we do any of that, I do want to give the listeners a couple things to think about. One, do you want to help this show grow? There's one real way to do it. It's by leaving a like button right now on the show. Hit the like button. You're watching anyway. It's only going to take you like 1.5 seconds. I've counted it out. I've timed it out. I've done the trial runs. Click that like button. It does the world of difference for us. And leave a comment every show. If you want to leave a comment with questions, we'll do that. But if you want your question answered by Beyond the Box Score, Jacob and I, leave it in an iTunes review or a Spotify review. Today, we'll be reading reviews at the end of the show. I want to thank everyone who took the time to leave us a rating and review. We are starting to rise up the charts. That means more people are going to see our show. These are the types of things you need when you're starting a new show. You need the help of everyone. And we want to make this community Beyond the Box Score. We want it to be like you guys are part of the show. So we're going to continue to work on ways to do that, brainstorm ideas in that regard. And if you have ideas, leave that in the comments. Sorry for this long plug god right here, but you know what? I needed to get it in today, Jacob. And let's get right into this thing, though. I want to talk about your rankings. Do we want to start with the player I vehemently disagree on, or do we want to just get into you redrafting the first round? Because I got all sorts of issues with your redraft.
You know I want to hear it, dude. Yeah, let's hear it. Who do you vehemently disagree with my rankings? My top 12 was it top 12 or just top 24?
He's not in the top 12.
Okay.
And he should be in the top 12 as far. Maybe not. You know what? Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that leap. I'll say he should be in the top 12. The very least, he should be higher than where you have him ranked. Do you think you want to take a guess first? So
Jonathan, I'm about to share my screen and show everybody what I sent out last night, which was my top 12 if I were to redraft right now, given what we know. And some people have been like, dude, it's week 2. Like, we're overreacting here. And it's like,
no, we're not.
We need, like, we got confirmation of things. Like, we have way more information than we did, 2 weeks ago. And I do think it's relevant to reevaluate. The player that people had the most problem with was Jonathan Taylor. I had Jonathan Taylor. This is for half PPR. I had him down at like 16 or 17. And that is too low. That makes total sense to me, especially for half PPR. So I have pushed him up. I think he's in the top 10 for half PPR. What I will say on Taylor is, like, he looks amazing right now. He's getting like 100% of the snaps. The Colts literally have not punted the ball yet. None of that is sustainable. Not only does he have a history of missing games, no running back plays this much. So even when they do at the beginning of the year, it does taper off. With that said, everything looks great, but it's just like, we can't just copy paste this, like there's probably going to be some more work shared, and also the offense is going to regress some. But with that said, you want to push him ahead of Nico Collins, Drake London, Justin Jefferson, Brian Thomas Jr., any of these receivers you're feeling nervous about, go for it. I have a tough time pushing him ahead of somebody like Bucky Irving, who's been truly a fantasy cheat code from an efficiency standpoint. And I think his offense is only going to keep getting better as they get healthier. And he now has this role where he doesn't have to get there through efficiency. The efficiency hasn't even been good. He's averaging like 3 yards per carry so far this year. And still he's been good for fantasy because his snap rate, his route rate, all those things are up into the elite running back range. He got there last year on a 50% snap rate, 45%. This year it's up to like 72%. So I'm extremely excited for him. And I think the efficiency will come. Rachaad White's averaging over 6 yards per rush. So I definitely think that Bucky can get there. I think the offense can produce efficiently. But that's the range I would put JT in. Is that who you're talking about, or is it somebody else?
Well, JT is definitely the second player I thought was egregiously ranked, and I would have him higher than Bucky Irving. But I respect the idea of having Bucky Irving up that high because of a few things. One, he just looks phenomenal out there. Watching last night on broadcast, he is everything that he was last season. And he's going to get a boost when Tristan Wirfs comes back. And I really think he's going to get a boost when Godwin comes back. Just the efficiency of the offense will overall rise. But I just feel like White is still a part of that offense, and White looked good out there to me too. And ultimately speaking, as of now, at least, that offense isn't as potent as another player. So Taylor would be in it. And the player that I think is most egregiously ranked, that is even after Taylor, I'm not sure if I would put ahead of Taylor, but I do at one point want to get back into that first round, by the way, because I would have Jefferson out of the first round, and I would borderline be concerned about leaving Chase in there. I'd probably leave him in there, but he would be further down my rankings. Love that you have Puka up at 3. That is so well-deserved. I'm really glad to see that. And regardless of what might happen with Stafford. But the player you have most egregiously ranked, it's like you've learned nothing. It's as if you've learned nothing. It's my boy in blue, James Cook. All James Cook does is look like the best one of the 3 or 4 best running backs on tape in football week after week, with his processing behind the line of scrimmage, with his jump cuts, with his ability to basically run like Dalvin Cook ran, but with more speed. And all James Cook does is score touchdowns at this point. 18 last year, 2 already. And he scores from distances. That's the difference with Cook. We're all like, oh, the touchdowns will regress. No, this dude just breaks off long touchdown runs because he's absolutely phenomenal at running the football. He's on one of the best offenses in football, should have plenty of scoring opportunities throughout the season, is a threat to break one on any play. Their offensive line is excellent. They were 7th best in yards created last year, and they look awesome so far this year, fully healthy. He even gets a role in the passing game. I get it. He doesn't play every snap. So what? Does Bucky Irving play every snap? No. Okay. He's ranked higher on your redraft board. And not just that, some of these dudes, like, I don't need James Cook to play the Jonathan Taylor 99% role because he's on a better offense. He has, in my opinion, maybe a better runner at this point. It really does look a lot like Dalvin out there. You just can't stop this guy. So yeah, we looked down at the board. Where's James Cook ranked for you? Where did you have him? I saw the number last night. I didn't like it.
I want to say he was at 23. Ugh. So I've got my updated rankings here now. 22. Ugh. 22 is where I have James Cook.
Taking Trey McBride over him, Ashton Genty, who they can't even block for 1 yard. That Raiders offensive line.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, these are fair critiques. I will say, it's the very beginning of Ashton Genty's career, and they're figuring it out. They're a new coach, new quarterback, a lot of newness there. I think by the end of the year, he could elevate to something that James Cook absolutely cannot be, unless we see an injury to Ty Johnson or something like that. We've never seen Cook be somebody who can play more than 40 or 50% of the snaps or contribute a lot of receptions. And I do think that type of a ceiling outcome is there for somebody like Genty. That's where I'm at with Cook, is like, it feels like, because he is so good for all the reasons that you outlined, which, by the way, Chad is saying, let him cook. Let him cook. Absolutely. Dan deserves the cook on this one because James Cook.
Well, the 47% snap share is not great. I'll be honest.
But going into the year, where was Cook being drafted? Like outside of the top 30?
I also think that 47% snap share is kind of bogus because they had such a big lead and the game script was they can just don't have to use James Cook. So
because of James Cook, they had the huge lead. Yeah.
Right.
But I'm saying this is a huge hit for you. He was like drafted outside the top 20, outside the top 30 going into the year in most places. But you were really high on Cook. Got me to be a little bit higher on him because I remember as TreVeyon Henderson was really pushing up the board. Right. I remember presenting to you. I'm like, TreVeyon is basically what people want TreVeyon to be is what James Cook already is.
Yes.
In a way better offense.
Yes.
But people were like drafting TreVeyon ahead of James Cook.
It was crazy.
And that was another Dan call. He was very low on TreVeyon, was very worried about Josh McDaniels and the offense there. So listen to my guy, Dan.
It's too early for victory laps. It's way too early.
I'll take them for you.
I appreciate you trying to take them for me. I have plenty of misses to go along with makes. That's fantasy football. But this is just one that I still think people are not coming around to. And I get it. Look, he's not playing every snap, but it doesn't matter when you're in an offense this good, with an offensive line this good. Most importantly, when you're this good, I just don't think people realize how good James Cook is at playing the position of running back.
Yeah, so what I've got on the screen here for the YouTube people, you can see it. And then for the listeners on audio, James Cook is on par with Jahmyr Gibbs and Devon Achane in terms of PPR points per touch. He's at the very top. It's those three running backs.
Bang.
Since the start of last year. And he has 11 career games with 18 or more touches. 2 of them have come this year. He's 2 for 2, 18 or more touches. So we are even seeing, while the snap rate isn't, shot way up or anything, the route rate isn't maybe where you want to see it. The touches are increasing, and this has been one of the most efficient per touch players in the league. 1.18 PPR points per touch for Jahmyr Gibbs. 1.11 for James Cook, 1.10 for Devon Achane. That's PPR, and half PPR or non-PPR, he would definitely be above Achane. He already is in full PPR, but he would be substantially above him. He would maybe even be above Gibbs as the most efficient per touch player at the running back position. He's so good.
Yeah, and I think it'll hopefully continue for him. We'll find out. Obviously, we'll see on that front.
Before we get to the break real quick, Henderson or Cook, someone offered me Henderson straight up for James Cook in Dynasty. I have Cook, they have Henderson. I'm really curious where you land on this because consensus says it's a no-brainer, but as I'm looking at it, it's like we know Cook can crush. We've already seen him crush the NFL in a lot of different ways. Like that touchdown run where he was stretched out is so impressive. He's such a good athlete. I don't know if Henderson actually does get to the level of player that he is, and I don't know if his offense ever gets to being as good. There's just way more upside with the receiving. His receiving role could be something really special.
Yeah, there's more upside with the receiving role for Henderson. He's 3 years younger and has and in running back years, that's 6. Let's be honest about the situation. But Cook was just re-signed. And everything you see out of Buffalo is we feel like this guy is the biggest part of our offense. We feel like this guy's ever since they made the switch to Joe Brady, that was really the difference for Cook. I brought up those numbers in the episode where I think we had the flag plant players episode or the bowl predictions, and I had James Cook scoring in the top 5 or something overall in fantasy or something ridiculous. And part of it was just the splits with Brady. He really believes in Cook and they re-sign him to a contract, I wouldn't do that deal. I would take Cook over Henderson in Dynasty.
That's wild, man. I kind of feel like I have to do it. Like Henderson also has the weight advantage on him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I feel a little
It
bit better
depends
about
where
his
you're at too.
body
Are you
holding up.
rebuilding? Are you rebuilding? Like, where are
No,
you at
that's
with
the
that
thing. That's
roster?
the thing is like I kind of want these points right now. Yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
don't know
tough.
if I do. If I want these points, I want James Cook. All the dude scores his touchdowns. So, and he's on the best offense, one of them. So we'll take a quick break. But when we get back, before we get into the rest of Jacob's rankings and his redraft around one, because I got other qualms with these rankings, 2 players I want to specifically touch on. I want to run by Jacob and the listeners a trade I made in my home league. And it's a very unique and interesting one. I want to hear your thoughts and what you think. There's been a lot of chatter about it in the league group chat. But before we do that, we'll take a quick break to hear a word from our sponsors.
You can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus. So even if you can't count on accurate expiration dates,
That is a rookie mistake.
or people appreciating your fashion sense,
Jim, the crowd is not on board here.
you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS, streaming on Paramount Plus.
Glad we wear our good jerseys.
All right.
Chat
So,
agrees with you. The chat
Okay.
agrees with you. The most popular vote was top 12 player, not running back, top 12 overall player for
kind
James
of in
Cook.
the book for that. Like he scored like it. I just like, for me, maybe Taylor is there, but there are players in that top 12 that I don't think I put Bucky in there. I remain very unsold on Justin Jefferson. I hate to say it. Feels so gross to me. It's
You'll like
Carson
my updated
Wentz.
rankings. He's down to 15.
Like I almost like the grossest thing about the situation is I almost feel like Wentz might be better for him than JJ McCarthy. And it's the worst feeling in the world to think that, honestly. And I don't think that's probably true because Wentz is probably shot as a quarterback. But man, have not liked what I've seen from McCarthy at all at the NFL level. He's just literally just not using the left side of the field. It's very Mitch Trubisky-esque. But they're kind of similar. They both had great arm talent from a velocity standpoint, not a lot of touch as throwers, as you could see on McCarthy miss when he threw left down the left side. And maybe he was playing hurt. Maybe that was part of it, but really never put it on tape at Michigan. It was all kind of just projection there. But anyway, not Jefferson. I want to talk to you about this trade that went down in my league, and I made it. And I want to hear your thoughts on it. It's been big chatter in the league. People are kind of pissed about it just because they didn't get asked. But one of my friends, it's a super flex league, and quarterbacks are just gold in super flex. And he just lost Joe Burrow for the year. And he has spent we play with a free agent budget system. So in his mind, what he wanted to do was make sure that he traded for enough free agent budget that he can guarantee Jake Browning while also giving himself a chance to actually have a little bit of budget for the rest of the season. And in this league, another manager lost JJ McCarthy and another manager has Jaden Daniel. There's a lot of quarterback injuries. So in his mind, he went to my team first without, shopping it around the league, which people are pissed about. And he did that because I have 5 quarterbacks rostered on my team. And he knew I wasn't going to be bidding on Browning. And he didn't want to tip off by shopping around this offer that I'm about to tell you that he was interested in Browning. His whole thing is that he doesn't want people to know he's just going to go all in with his budget on Browning. He wants to keep it under wraps. So he offered me Travis Hunter for $400 out of $1,000 waiver budget. And I accepted the trade because I figured I'm not going to get a better waiver buy this year in free agency than Travis Hunter. What are your thoughts on this deal? Should he have shopped it, or did he kind of do the right thing by not putting it around the league and letting people know his intentions? Where are you at with this?
Yeah, it's interesting. I can get it from his perspective of just wanting to get it done, like not really wanting to worry about getting it the best possible price before waivers go through. I think you made out like a bandit. Like we'll see with Hunter. It could be nothing. It could be
It really could.
Yeah, we saw him play. We saw Hunter play a lot more defensive snaps this week, and
Yep.
so his route rate dropped. They haven't really done anything creative with him, but we are seeing the offense start to slowly give us different layers. There was a lot more motion this week. The Jags were second in pre-snap motion in week 2, which was way up from week 1. Overall, pretty encouraged with Liam Cohen. The run game has been spectacular. Right. It's been a huge improvement from what we saw last year. So I think we're going to see the passing get going. Lawrence played a little bit better in week 2. I think that makes sense. How deep of a league is it?
It's not too deep. I mean, it's super flex, but it's a short bench league, 6
right.
men.
That's what I was
Hunter's
wondering.
Just going to sit on the bench for a while for me.
That's what I was wondering. Is like I think there might be a time in the not so distant future where it's like, do I hold Travis Hunter? Like,
no.
And because you sunk this cost in him, you almost feel like more like you have to hold him. And he's already kind of that player where you like, if he's not producing like in a shallow league, what do you do with him? But I think overall it's a good trade. That's an interesting trade.
Yeah, it really it comes down to if you believe in Liam Cohen's ability to scheme up the pass game. So far, he's been great in the run game. We'll talk about that a little bit later when we talk about some of these rookies, Bashal Tutin. Just love the stat you had earlier about the yards created. I really do believe in Cohen in the run game. It's just in the passing game, we are limited, it seems, by Trevor Lawrence. We'll see what happens on that front, though. Obviously, the BTJ stuff is wild. Let's get back into it, though. Let's get back into your rankings here, because I do kind of want to see where Brian Thomas Jr. is and where your thoughts are on that.
Oh, yeah.
Other players.
Yeah, BTJ, of course, one of the most interesting players to rank here. So I'll quickly give you my top 12, if I can. There we go. CeeDee Lamb, this is for half PPR. CeeDee Lamb is who I have at 1. I just feel really good about the setup there. You could move someone ahead of him if you want. These are all pretty interchangeable. I would say the top 7, ending with Christian McCaffrey, any of them could be 1. Lamb is who I had at 2 going into the year, behind only Jamar Chase, with the Joe Burrow injury, with confirmation of the Dallas environment being one that could just produce huge shootouts like we saw last week against the Giants. I'm totally content with Lamb here because he hasn't even played necessarily up to the standards that we've seen from Lamb at times. His separation score like that isn't quite as high as it could be. And still, he's giving us monster numbers in this environment. Bijan Robinson, 2nd here. Puka Nacua, 3rd. Jahmyr Gibbs, 4th. Jamar Chase, 5th. Saquon Barkley and Christian McCaffrey at 6 and 7. I'm fine with any of them moving up. Do you have any qualms here, or should we get further down the board for our qualms?
No qualms. I think I'm good with this section.
Alrighty, moving down to number 8 for half PPR, Devon Achane, playing over 90% of the snaps, something we've never seen before. If you look just at receiving PPR production on the year, Devon Achane is wide receiver 12. He has more receiving fantasy points than all but 11 wide receivers in 2025. He's truly a cheat code. You worry about the offense. Maybe you worry about his health if he's going to play this much and be loaded up with this number of touches. But the upside is just so high for him to easily be like the top scoring player in fantasy. So 9 is where I landed on him. I do think I would take him in the first round. Malik Neighbors is who I have next.
This is the first qualm for me.
We saw how high the upside can be without Daniel Jones there. And of course, Daniel Jones is playing well in Indianapolis, but look at what we got last week for the Giants. It could even be better if the move to Jackson Dart comes at some point.
No, it'll be worse.
Yeah, I don't know. I get what you're saying. I know you're. Are you saying it can't be better than what we just saw in week 2?
It just can't. I mean, I know a lot of people hate on Russell Wilson, but according to Fantasy Points Data Suite, he had a 91% catchable target.
Yeah. So to be clear, I'm not expecting it on a week-to-week basis to be better than what we just saw, which was freaking ridiculously good.
But I see what you're saying. There will be some games where Russ just takes a lot of sacks, can't handle the
week
blitz.
1.
Yeah, like week 1. Yep.
Yeah, I'm saying like from a medium projection standpoint, I think it could be better under Dart. And there actually could be maybe more upside too if Dart is able to unlock lots of areas of the field and not just the places that Russ goes. So that's where I'm at with Neighbors. He's a really good player. You had pushback on this ranking?
I just think he should be higher. I would take him over. I would take him over Jefferson and Chase right now.
Yeah. So I was a little bit nervous about him coming into the year. I think I had him at like 13 or 14 or something like that. Offensive environment stuff. And then also like health related things. I don't know how high the ceiling can really push if the offense's best case scenario is like 20th, in scoring and yardage output. So that's kind of where I'm at with him, is like, I don't know if I can push him up into the CMC, Devon Achane, Saquon Barkley range. Maybe ahead of Jamar Chase. Would you go that high?
Chase is the one I wouldn't, just because I think he's going to get so many targets and so many screen targets from Browning. But I don't know, man. I feel like everything about, just like we talked about this past offseason, he was, I think, first in the NFL in unrealized air yards. Now he's realizing those air yards, and it just makes such a difference in the overall scoring for him. And the system remains the same. Like, there was even some talk in week 1 about frustration with Giants receivers. It's just designed to get him the ball. There's so many things that Dable does to get him the football. There's no one really else besides Puka that I think is ranked up top there. And now Chase, but he's limited by Browning. It's those 3 receivers for me that have that role right now, that pure design role.
Yeah, no, I
And maybe
think,
JSN. Sorry, I want to include him in there as well. He's in that grouping as well.
yeah,
Those
for
those, those
sure.
4 receivers.
So I've got Neighbors at 9. I think you could push him a little bit higher, but I do have a tough time pushing him ahead of those
Yeah,
running backs. Jonathan
fair.
Taylor is next. We've talked about him. I think is this basically where you're at? Is 10?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Taylor or Achan for you?
Achan.
Okay. Bucky Irving is who I have next. Amon-Ra St. Brown closes out the top 12. Then we get into some of these bell cows. James Cook. James Cook could absolutely just be where Derrick Henry is here. I think that's kind of where you in the chat settled. I have Henry at 14 behind Josh Jacobs at 13. They have a very similar profile where they're playing about 50% of the snaps, not getting the receiving work, getting a lot of touchdowns, getting a lot of long runs, and one of the best offenses.
Yep.
Do I think James Cook is as good as Derrick Henry? I don't know if I'm quite ready to go there. And so that's, I think, where you see the difference in where they landed in these rankings. The players that are in between them are Justin Jefferson, Nico Collins, Drake London, Brock Bowers, Ashton Genty, and Jackson Smith and Jigba, with Trey McBride as well. McBride, his target rates, his first 3 target rates, all of it is even higher than it was last year when he was by far tight end 1 in all of these things. So I just think the volume is so out of control there that I'm comfortable with him over Cook, Ladd McConkey, Brian Thomas Jr. We finally arrived at him. Devontae Adams, those are who I've got in the 20s here. And then, of course, Rashee Rice. This is probably a hot take. If you're 0-2, then put him lower down the board.
Sure.
But if you're 2-0, you might even push him higher, because I really think this Chiefs offense needs him so bad.
Yes.
And when he gets back, we're going to see just everything funneled through him.
He'll be a top 12 player when he's back, in my opinion.
Yeah, he has been. Like, on a per opportunity basis, he's been a top 5 player.
Right.
He's been so good for fantasy. Just look at the way that we're seeing defenses more and more and more continuing to drop back into the zones, continuing to throw all of this stuff at offensive lines to confuse them with stunts and blitzes and everything. It's a league where you need to have a player like this to beat the meta, like to get the ball out quickly to a player like this and abuse defenses when they give you opportunities for catch and run. And that's exactly what Rice does.
Yep.
Better than anyone. He's like an upgraded version of Deebo Samuel. Like, that sounds crazy, but that's what it's been. That's what the production has been when he's healthy. So if he comes back as even like 90% of the Rice that we've had in the past, he's going to absolutely crush for fantasy. Anybody else in this top 20? Like Nico, Jefferson, you've already mentioned.
Yeah.
Bowers.
So yes, there's a few. I would put Henry. I like Henry a little bit more than you do. Like, I would put him above Bucky and put him above Jacobs and just slightly above James Cook. I'd probably have him in that order of Henry, Jacobs, James Cook, then Bucky. And then that's just how I would do it. But no, you don't need to flip these around.
I know. I'm just showing.
Okay. I want to keep yours to see how it was. Now, Nico's a big one for me. I'm wildly concerned about that situation. It looks dire there for Houston. I watched that game, and I know people are pointing to like CJ Stroud's off target rate and things like that. Dude, what do you expect when it looks like that? That offensive line is an absolute nightmare right now, and they just can't get anything going because no one respects their run game, despite Chubb looking pretty good last night, honestly. Had actually some burst that I didn't expect him to still have. It just doesn't matter. Like, they're in so many dire situations, 2nd and long, 3rd and longs, and it just seems like teams are teeing off on them. And that Bucs defense is not really, like, they're going to face a lot stronger defenses this year than them. So I'm a little bit concerned with Nico just not returning what we're used to with him. Another player that I need to watch the tape on is Brock Bowers, because from the broadcast angle, Jacob, it just didn't look like he was moving the same way he moved last season. I just want to make sure that we're not going to be in a situation all year with Bowers where he's like playing through this injury and not 100%.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. He didn't maybe look like he was quite 100%. He wasn't featured nearly like the focal point that he was in week 1.
Right.
And his separation scores and win rates were a bit lower as well. So I think, it might be a problem, and I might be too high on him here. I'm content moving Cook above him and Nico, I guess. I just think Nico's so good, man.
He is, man. He
could have had an even bigger game. And he had, that was with the offense playing terrible, like, I think there's ways that the offense could get better. And even if it doesn't, like, we know that the offense was terrible last year and he was still really, really good.
True.
Wide receiver 1 in fantasy points per route run over the past 2 seasons. And it's not like the offense has been good. So that's where I'm at with Nico. Bowers, though, it is a little bit worrisome right now where we're at. Him and Ashton Genty both. It's like, I've got them in the top 20, but they're going to probably keep sliding if we don't.
And Genti looks awesome out there. Let me be clear. Like, he looks better than most of these running backs, rookie backs I've watched on film.
He's last in the league in yards before contact per
That's the
rush.
key.
Negative yards before contact per rush.
And
That's
I brought
my
that up
problem.
all preseason. I had so many concerns with this Raiders offensive line that was awful in their first season without Carm Brasilla last year. And they just didn't do much to improve it this offseason. They just kind of said, well, we got Chip Kelly, and that should solve all our problems in the run game. And Kelly has solved a lot of problems in the past in the run game, but right now it just doesn't feel like that line is going to be good enough.
Yeah. Okay, so we made it to around 20. I've got Jackson Smith and Jigba, Trey McBride, Ladd McConkey, who
I got another big gripe coming. I see it already.
People have a lot of problems with this Ladd McConkey.
Not Ladd. I'm good with that.
AJ Brown, that people in the chat are saying we must have forgotten about AJ Brown. I have him at 32 compared to 23 for Ladd McConkey, which maybe that's wrong. I know they're a decent corollary because they're both players who get there through extreme efficiency and don't really get the volume. But I think we're actually seeing that maybe we could get the volume for McConkey. And what I'm talking about is the pass rate over expectation for the Chargers. They were second in week 1. They were first in week 2. So this is looking at the circumstances of each play. How likely are they to pass? They were 10.5% above expectation week 2, 13.5% above expectation in week 1. The only team that was higher was the Patriots, who just like completely abandoned the run in week 1. So really, like this is relative to expectation. The Chargers are the most pass heavy team in the league so far. And so am I worried about Ladd McConkey? I'm really not at all. Is that like, I'm very curious to hear where you're at with McConkey.
I'm with you on McConkey. I think what we're watching there is an offense that realizes that their best chance to win long-term is by turning the offense over to Justin Herbert rather than running a similar Roman Harbaugh scheme that we've seen in the past. He operates this offense and they have an unreal connection. I think there's more to go with them. He just hasn't scored yet. He's going to score. I'm also very high on Ladd McConkey, and I'm perfectly good with that ranking.
Yeah. For what it's worth, Quentin Johnston has the highest win rate and average separation score on the team. He had the highest average or the highest first read target rate in week 2, 30%. So it could be QJ is a bigger part of the offense than he was last year. But I think Ladd is so good that it's only a good thing that we're passing so much. What do you think about AJ Brown? I've got him.
So I have one above that I want to discuss before AJ Brown. I have a really tough time. No, I'm a huge Devontae Adams guy. I love that ranking. And I tried to trade for him all last week, couldn't get any off. I have a lot of trouble ranking Chase Brown at 29 or really anywhere near here. And I looked into this because I just actually traded him in a league. I have so many shares. I had to trade one share away. I took a look at the schedule for the Bengals moving forward. I took a look at their offensive line so far this year. And I just don't really know my bull case for Chase Brown moving forward because he's not or hasn't been an efficient runner. And I don't know if that's all on him. I think a lot of that's on their offensive line, their blocking scheme, as it always has been with Zach Taylor. But that's not going to change anytime soon. And the whole reason I liked him was because Burrow was really good at using him in the passing game. I'm not sold Browning will be as good using him in the passing game. And mostly, too, I thought we were going to get like 40, 50 touchdowns from this Bengals offense, in which case Brown was going to have 14 or 15 of them between rushing and receiving. Am I thinking that Jake Browning is going to lead us to 40 or 50 touchdowns? No, not really. So I just, with Brown, I'm running out of ammo as far as like what I like about his fantasy profile right now.
Yeah.
Besides that he touches everything. Sorry, that's a big factor.
Yeah, that's fair. Where I have him is down from where we had him when we thought that he could have that type of touchdown upside. And while we don't have that, we do have confirmation of the role, which feels good. He's RB4 in expected fantasy points through 2 weeks, and that's with the Bengals not scoring hardly at all in week 1. So the touches are there. They're really trying to run everything through Chase Brown. And I brought up the fact that over his career, Jake Browning has almost an identical running back target rate to Burrow. Does that just not move the needle for you?
It should move it. Like, I mean, maybe there's a role for him in the passing game, but even then it's like, what am I get? I guess I can understand then. It's like, it almost feels like some of those pass backs that we've invested in because they have the role, but don't necessarily have the scoring upside. I just, even if he gets a lot of targets in the passing game, Jacob, I'm fine ranking him somewhere in like the 40-50 range, right? But does that bring him all the way up here with some talented players if he's not scoring enough touchdowns?
And on the passing note, I think people will find it interesting. Route rate, the percentage of dropbacks where he ran a route, 43%. James Cook said 41%. This is way lower than we normally see.
Yeah.
The XFP is good because he has like a ridiculous amount of carries, but his targets are actually down this year. He only has 6 targets through 2 games. Again, that's identical to James Cook.
Yeah.
So I think what you're saying is totally valid. Let me check in on where do I have him? 29, 1 spot ahead of Hampton, ahead of Kenneth Walker, Kyron Williams, Chuba Hubbard, Breece Hall.
Zay Flowers, I'd have to for sure put above him. I love Zay Flowers.
Let's move him down. That's what we're here for today.
I'd probably put Tet.
All right, cool. We want to take our second break, and we'll get back.
Let's take another break. We'll get back to the Jacobs rankings. I'm sure we're going to have more qualms with these rankings.
Only CBS Sports can bring you big time during the heart of Saturday afternoons. It's big time.
It's big time. It's big time. It's big time.
On CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus.
All right, let's get back into it. We're going to start.
Let's talk about Amari and Hampton. People are very concerned with Amari and Hampton.
We also haven't talked to A.J. Brown, and you mentioned him earlier, so I just want to keep that in mind. We'll come back.
We'll talk about those two. They're right next to each other. So they fall in the same range as the quarterbacks. I have the quarterbacks basically exactly where they were drafted. And Hampton I have at 29. A.J. Brown I have at 31. I just feel good about the role with Hampton. I think the first 2 teams that they've played are division opponents who know that the Chargers, they really thought this was going to be the identity for the Chargers was Amari and Hampton. I think the draft pick signaled that, and then everything we've heard out of Harbaugh this summer signaled that. And then they also know that you have to stop Lad McConkey. And so that's what I've seen in these games is that the defenses are really, really prioritizing those 2 things. And then we've seen as a result a lot more than we expected go to QJ and Keenan Allen. And that'll be the MO for every defense that faces them. But I do think as you get into the season, there's only a handful of really good coordinators who are able to be adaptable every single week and really cater their game plan around the offense that they're facing. So when they get into more neutral spots, I think we'll see better production for McConkey and Hampton. And so to me, it's we were real nervous about what the offense might look like with Rashawn Slater out, but it's been fine. It's been pretty good even, the Raiders defense isn't a great test, but they're 2-0. They've played well. Herbert looks good. And so they're doing a lot of fantasy friendly things with play action, motion, all that stuff. And then even the pass rates I like, because I think it ups the tempo and the pace and the upside for the whole offense to just have the ball in Herbert's hands.
Agreed.
So where does that leave Hampton, though, who has not run well, has not found very much room, and hasn't been very productive for fantasy? Basically, it's just a bet on the talent and the role, which is where we were at the beginning, but we've actually seen the role be good. So the only reason in my mind that you would move Hampton down is if you are so concerned with 2 games of lack of productivity that you're willing to now capitulate on where you thought the talent was, which is not where I'm at all. We have a much bigger sample size of film that we watched where we felt really good about the talent. I think he's going to be breaking some long runs at some point soon, and that will really make things feel a lot better.
Yeah, you made the case that I feel strongly about. And I do think, Jacob, where you have him ranked is pretty close to where I would have him ranked. And I don't think that's where consensus has him ranked right now. And I don't think that's where fantasy managers who drafted him and feel burned by him. You know how recent bias your leagues can be. Some of your league mates and some of your friends can be. To me, he seems like one of the screaming easiest trade low targets right now. Last week I was trying to get Devontae Adams. I didn't. It sucked because he broke out. I think Hampton is potentially next up on that list of people that
we're gonna talk through some trade targets on the Wednesday show this week.
I don't want to give them all away then. Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. People in the chat are just Hampton sucks. And it's so
I watched all the cut up of his week 1. I didn't watch the cut up yet because you did that. And by the way, for those listening, hit the like button right now. Please do it and leave a comment. But also check out Jacob's Twitter where you can find cut ups of a lot of these players that we're going to discuss. And I think you can make your own decision on what you think is going on with these players, that gives you a lot more than just a box score look, like 15 for 43. And that's why we are beyond the box score. That's not funny at all. I don't know why I laughed at it.
I just remember that like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was tweeting out clips of Marion Hampton looking like Superman, and y'all were pretty jazzed up. It was like 3,000-4,000 likes, and now it's like, this guy sucks. It's like,
well,
probably doesn't suck. He's still huge and awesome. I don't know.
He's still huge. He's still super fast. His tape at UNC was awesome. But a big problem is, and I remember when this happened, I was reading somebody who is a great writer and a great analyst for the Chargers. He breaks down the tape for that team. And he was like, what you guys will realize most when it comes to this Rashawn Slater training camp injury is not what Rashawn Slater does in the passing game. And he was so right about it, because I was like, man, Slater, this is going to hurt Herbert. He was so right about that. He's like, Slater is their engine in the run game. He gets to the second level. He makes things happen. And I think for me, from what I saw with the week 1 cut up you did, and then just broadcast last night watching the entire game, it's another Raiders-like situation right now. They can't generate anything in the run game. Hampton is getting hit almost, and I don't know what the numbers say on that. You may have the numbers on his yards, their yards created before contact, but as of now, they're not creating in the run game. I'm with you. I don't think that's going to happen all season long. So he just strikes me as a player that I'm okay ranking as high as you have him ranked.
Yeah, he's adjusting to the pro level game. I think it'll only continue to get better. Like, plus the line stuff that you've talked about. I think it'll continue to get better.
I would have Zay Flowers higher.
I mean, here's one like Kenneth Walker. I've got at 37 here, which could be too high. The role needs to be better. Zach Charbonnet played more than him last week. But like, I'm bringing him up because after 1 week, people were saying that he sucked. People were saying that Zach Charbonnet was better. And it's like, there was nowhere to run. Like, what is he supposed to do? And now 1 week later, he's first in the freaking NFL in rushing success rate, let's maybe not be so reactive.
We can't.
He's a really good player. I think
don't react to 1 game sample size, but you can react to injuries and to how that changed the landscape. I think that is still valuable.
Yeah, that's what we're like, and usage and all of that, and like what the team is doing, like the Chargers being so pass heavy is like, I think there are some definitely interesting takeaways here. All right, AJ Brown, wide receiver 1 in route win rate in week 2, which is huge because in week 1, he had one of the lowest separation scores of any wide receiver. It looked like he was kind of being used as a decoy, but he faced the Chiefs defense that uses a lot of press coverage, and he won a lot. But what did they throw for? 97 yards or whatever?
95, I think.
Yeah, so we know where we're at with AJ Brown. I moved him down a little bit because I just don't feel great about it. Like, I already didn't really feel great about AJB. I'm fine if you want to put him back up into this Brian Thomas range, because I don't feel great about what's going on there either.
I can't have Thomas that high. We haven't talked about him yet. I can't have him anywhere near there for me.
Yeah, I've got BTJ at 25, AJB at 31, and I made this ranking before I got like the confirmation from Fantasy Points data just before the show started that like his route stuff did check out really well in week 2. So yeah, I'd probably move him back up into this range, like right around McConkey, Rashee Rice. Let me hear it on BTJ. Where are you at?
Yeah, so first, real quick on Brown, because we did touch on the film review of that Eagles offense. Check out Beyond the Box Score from Monday, and I gave a little take on that. I think the route combos the Eagles are running right now are really bad, and they're going to cost them this season. Losing Kellen Moore was a bigger loss than people realize. Now, as far as BTJ goes, I watched every snap. I'm just like concerned about everything going on with the Jacksonville passing game. One, Liam Cohen not really defending his quarterback, even making comments that are in some ways like bad. I think not great for the locker. I mean, he's a first-time coach, and we love his design and we love his ability to scheme offense, Jacob. But I look at that and I'm like, when you're calling out your quarterback in some ways that in which he was, he needs to be more accurate, needs to put the football on here. It's not a good look for the locker room, but he's right. Trevor Lawrence needs to be more accurate. And Trevor Lawrence is in year 5 staring down BTJ and leading him into a hospital ball type hit over the middle of the field. And so I'm not like totally surprised that BTJ doesn't want to catch that. But at the same time, like, what else are we going to do here? They've never had a good connection in the deep passing game. I feel like he was at his best, BTJ, with Mac Jones last year, who is, by the way, a very underrated quarterback in the NFL, like very capable backup. And he's not used the way, like the whole idea for me, Jacob, of ranking BTJ as high as we had him was I think you brought it up in one of the shows. I'm trying to remember now. It was the stat of Liam Cohen's offense and how he used those boundary receivers, Mike Evans last year, on those in-breaking routes, the cheat codes. And that just hasn't been something that has worked so far for Lawrence and BTJ. And a lot of that is Lawrence is off target. A lot of that is BTJ, I don't think, is that physical player like Mike Evans is and willing to take the same kind of hits, as weird as that sounds, because quite frankly, we didn't really see that a lot last year with BTJ. That's not how he won. He won in different ways. So I just don't ultimately know if I love the fit in this offensive scheme. I don't like the quarterback play, and I don't love their rapport. So I'm running out of all those factors for me just makes it so hard for me to rank him in the top 25 range.
So he had an incredible average separation score and win rate on slants last year. And I thought there were outside of 2 games where he was playing with an injury last year and he clearly did avoid contact last year. I thought he played physical. I don't necessarily agree with that because you know me, I watched every single route last year. I was so obsessed with BTJ.
I'll defer to you on that. I didn't mean to say he doesn't play physical. Maybe that was a poor way to phrase that. So I want to defer to you and take that.
I think bringing up that last year that when he was playing with an injury is relevant here because apparently there's a wrist injury that was undisclosed with BTJ before the week 2 game. Who knows? It's weird to me that they would run the offense through him, which they did. He had massive volume in this game. I don't know why you would be throwing him hospital balls and running play designs that way if he's hurt. But we at least have precedent of him not him being out there but not playing the same way to avoid contact, and then getting back on track after that. So that's kind of where I'm at with BTJ is who knows? But I definitely think it's possible, like I alluded to with Travis Hunter earlier, that everything we've wanted with this offense could get on track. And this guy was somebody we felt so good about drafting in the top 12. So I'm fine with it. People have been sending me BTJ dynasty trades and I've been trying to get more, but I'm probably going to pull the trigger on 1 or 2 of them. And even in a redraft, I would trade for Ladd McConkey first. I would trade for Drake London first before him, but then BTJ would probably be 3 for me among wide receiver trade targets this week.
Yeah, I want to get there with him because I do believe in the talent still. And everything you said, the ability to win on those inbreakers, his speed, his size, he's just an absolute freak and a rare talent at the NFL level. But for fantasy purposes, part of being successful is dependent on your quarterback. And it's just very hard for me to trust Trevor Lawrence right now. As crazy as it sounds, he should be so much better at playing this position. It's very odd to see what's developed with him as a quarterback at the NFL level.
Yeah. All right. I did look up the Amari Hampton numbers. He had negative yards before contact this week. He had single-digit yards before contact in week 1.
Yeah.
So only 7 yards before contact in total through 2 games, which is very low. Hopefully things will be better. I'm not super worried about it. Where I landed on these wide receivers, if I can share my screen, Josh, I'll show you guys where I'm at here. I've got A.J. Brown at 23 overall, behind Jackson Smith-Njigba, behind Ashton Jeanty, behind Trey McBride, Ladd McConkey at 24, Rashee Rice at 25, Devontae Adams at 26, Brian Thomas Jr. at 27. The next receiver is after the quarterbacks and after Amari Hampton, and that is Zay Flowers. I moved Jaden Daniels down. He was supposed to be down, not Jalen Hurts. I've got Jaden Daniels down at 37. I'm a little bit nervous about a knee injury for him. If his health checks out, then he's up in this exact same range as Hurts and Allen and Lamar Jackson. So Zay Flowers is who I have next. Love this. This was a breakout call for us. And we've continued to see him elevate his game in terms of being able to draw targets, create yards after the catch, all the good stuff that you want from him. He looks like the clear-cut top target in Baltimore. He's stacked 2 straight games together in a way that we really haven't seen from him in the past when it's been a lot of up and down, and they're the first 2 games. So who knows? Maybe this is just where he's at in year 3. In terms of expected fantasy points and stuff like that, he's up at the very top of the wide receiver position. So you think that he deserves to be even higher? Is that where you're at with Zay?
Yeah, I think he deserves to be even higher. I think everything we've hoped for with Zay has proven so far. And the fact to me that he was able to put together a pretty solid, respectful, especially for full PPR, but even for half PPR game in a game script like the Ravens just had, where they're blowing out the Browns the entire game, is such a good sign for me, because anytime he's going to get into that other game script we saw from week 1, I think he'll be borderline wide receiver 1, if not wide receiver 1. Just everything about Flowers is impressive to me. I saw Matt Harmon tweeting about him, a year 3 breakout potentially. Just looks good from a charting standpoint. So I just think for me, I would feel more comfortable playing him over at Brian Thomas Jr. Right now, and potentially even AJ Brown.
Yeah, that's fair. I think the final form, the best possible outcome for somebody like BTJ is a lot higher. If this
Yes,
offense
agreed.
gets clicking, and there's way more touchdown upside in it. But I do think the Flowers could give us a really, really good season, and maybe is more likely to score more points than BTJ from a median outcome standpoint. Cortland Sutton I have next, followed by Mike Evans and Tedero McMillan and Garrett Wilson. Do you have any concern with Sutton? I still have him high where I drafted him.
No concern with Sutton. I think that they'll get back in track. Well, let me say, let me be clear real quick. I shouldn't say no concern. A little concern. Have you seen any of the Bo Nix tape so far?
Oh, yeah.
He's
That's fair.
regressed
That's
to
a good
some
point.
degree. And that would be my one concern with Sutton.
Yeah, PFF has him graded as the worst passer through 2 weeks.
I think it checks out too from just watching a little bit.
Yeah, so you can move Sutton down if you want to trade Sutton away for one of these receivers that we've talked about. Like if you can maybe, probably not after kind of a down week 2, but if you can maybe get a deal done that centers around Sutton and BTJ, Sutton and Clyde McConkey or something like that. The Bo Nix stuff. He was somebody we had a lot of nervousness about the sustainability of how he plays the position, and whether he can really facilitate a big offense. And yeah, so far it hasn't looked good. Kenneth Walker at 36, he could fluctuate so wildly. I don't know what to expect from a role perspective, but the offensive line looked a lot better in week 2. And I have hope that this can be a good unit. And I have a lot of hope about Clint Kubiak. And so I'm hoping that things continue to trend in the right direction here and we get the role as well, because the upside for him is truly like a top 5 running back. If he's healthy, if he's getting the targets that Clint Kubiak has designed in the past for the running back position, and the outside zone stuff is working well, he's so good. Garrett Wilson is next. We're getting to the end of the top 40 here. Kyron Williams, Chuba Hubbard. Just feel rock solid about the roles for these guys. Like if anything, Kyron, I'm maybe a little bit worried
That's
about.
what I was going to bring up. Yeah. Kyron is the one that really stands out to me. Well, Kyron and Tet for another reason. Tet, I think big things are coming for him. Look at the Carolina Panthers' next 4 games on the schedule. Absolutely great opportunities for him to just go off in those games. But as far as Kyron goes, first 2 weeks, averaged 3.7 yards per carry, 3.9 yards per carry. I mean, this is kind of par for the course for Kyron. He's not a very efficient runner, right? But the hope was this Rams offensive line would be as good as it was at times running the duo with Kyron. And the Rams offensive line, the run game just hasn't been as great. Wait until Blake Corum got some opportunities this past week. And Blake Corum did amazing with his opportunities. Looked kind of a lot like the back he was before the injury at Michigan. Just really low to the ground with the running style. I saw a few cut-ups of him. Great at cutting, getting that explosive stop-start ability. And after the game, Sean McVay talked about it and basically said, this needs to be part of our offense in some ways. And you mentioned this in the offseason, Jacob. McVay said, I watched tape of what Liam Cohen did. I want to do that. I want to be able to use different backs. So if we do evolve to a situation where Corum is a part of that offense, where are we at with Kyron? Because he's not an efficient runner. He's not breaking off long plays like a James Cook. He probably still will have the red zone role. His passing game role is okay, I guess, right? 3 total receptions on the season. Not great. I just feel a little nervous about that.
Yeah, for sure. Kyron could be like a Jordan Mason, David Montgomery kind of player if what you just outlined comes to fruition.
Yeah. On a better offense, probably, but yeah. Or not than Montgomery, but yeah.
Yeah, but we've already seen him how good he can be, so that's kind of where I'm at with him.
Sure.
I don't have Kyron on any teams for this this reason. It's felt kind of like a falling knife. Like at some point the floor is going to fall out and he's not going to have the every single down work. But that is what we saw in week 1, and it wouldn't surprise me if that gets back on track. Chuba Hubbard is getting more receptions and running more routes. So he's kind of pushing up the board for me a little bit.
Sure.
I do have him above Chase Brown and Breece Hall now. Here's Travis Etienne has pushed up into the top 50. You could push him higher if you want. I really think the Bashal Tootin is legit and I don't know if you can put it back in the bottle after, what we're starting to see here, where he's creating no negative plays, and creating yards after contact on every single touch. I think he's probably going to keep getting more work. and that could come at the expense of ETN at some point. They have a mid-season bye. I think it's week 8. So it's possible that like in the second half, ETN takes a smaller role. Like we saw last night with Tampa Bay. You know, people have brought up when I talk about Tootin that like, well, are we just going to ignore how well ETN's playing?
Mm-hmm.
No.
No.
It's that Tootin might be able to offer something special, like beyond even what ETN can do. And why I'm bringing up Tampa Bay is because that's what Bucky is. And look at how well Rachaad White played last night. Rachaad White is a good player, like can play well, especially in a good offensive environment. And it didn't really matter. Bucky just took over. He slowly took over. By the end of the year, he was getting all of the touches. And here we are the next year, and he comes out as the clear lead back. It's not Rachaad White come in on third downs. It's not Rachaad White running more routes anymore. It's like Bucky running 2-3 times as many routes, pass blocking more, doing everything because he's the best player. And so that's where I'm at with ETN is like, I don't mean to take anything away from him. I know that he's playing well. That's great. I've got him up in the top 50 now. There's a chance that he does just hold it all year long. Maybe Tootin starts fumbling or taking negative plays. Who knows? But there's also a real chance that Tootin just keeps playing really, really well and is the best player on an offense that, you know, could continue to like use good running backs to help boost things. Like that's been the only thing that's really been working for the offense so far.
I'm 100% with you on this ranking when it comes to ETN being this high. I would maybe even have him a tiny bit higher, but I also have Tootin right up there. Remember what I said this offseason, Jacob, about what I had hopeful expectations for this Broncos run game, where it's just going to be so dominant that both Dobbins and Harvey would be worth rostering and starting every week. I just kind of think that's what the Jags are actually going to be. We kind of got an idea of it last year watching Cohen on tape. We have the numbers to back it up so far with the yards they create before contact. He may be even better than Sean Payton, I think, at scheming up run game. And then the final factor for me is the Jags defense has seemingly taken a pretty decent step forward. I know it wasn't great at the end there with the Bengals, but like they just look a decent bit better than what they were the season before defensively, specifically in week 1. But maybe that plays a factor too, that just keeps them in better game script. But that's kind of where I'm at. I feel like they can both be good values.
Yeah, it's just a 2-week sample size, but they are definitely moving the ball a lot easier on the ground. Travis Etienne's averaging like 3.3 yards before contact per rush.
Look at the stat that Jacob has up on the screen. I think it tells the story.
Yeah, this is a Ben Johnson, Liam Cohen stat. It's yards before contact per running back run, and I removed gains of 20-plus yards because that definitely influences like Etienne's number, for example. The Jaguars were 26th last year. They're 6th this year. The Bears were 23rd last year. They're 1st this year. Shout out DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, man, he's going to be
25% success rate. 25% success rate, even with this blocking.
Yeah, that's so bad. And he's
hard to do.
He still might need to belong up your rankings. Another guy, just real quick to touch on in your rankings that I just have so much trouble ranking as high as you'd have him, is where did I find him? He's somewhere in there. Now I'm missing him. Where do you have T. Higgins?
T. Higgins.
Oh, you might have just moved him down. I think I saw him up on the rankings. Yeah, there he is.
Yep, 45. Same range as George Pickens, Rome Odunze, Chase Brown, Breece Hall, Tyreek Hill,
McLaurin, who had a really nice target share. And even a guy like Igbukah, I could never take. I think I'd have to take Igbukah over him 100 times. Just the Higgins situation to me feels like he's going to be the one that loses out of this whole Burrow situation the most. So I just don't.
I don't know what's going to happen. T. Higgins had more expected fantasy points and actual points during the 7-game sample with Jake Browning than Jamar Chase. I don't know what's going to happen. I do know T. Higgins is really good. I think Igbukah might be, but I don't. Even with Chris Godwin, he has a 19 and 20% target share. His average separation scores aren't that good.
Fair.
He just scored a bunch of touchdowns. Fair. I think this might be like a bit of a like overreaction to what's happening right now.
You know what? I'm with you on that as far as Igbukah goes. I still have my concerns about Higgins, but I think you're right about Igbukah.
Yeah. So I kind of had a hard time even pushing Igbukah this high. I've got him ahead of Deebo Samuel. I've got him ahead of Marvin Harrison Jr.
Keep Deebo up there. I'm taking Deebo over Higgins right now.
Are you still Deebo over McLaurin?
That's an interesting question. All the metrics suggest that I should be McLaurin over Deebo, but
Deebo's played well. I think it makes sense that we could see more targets funneled his way. He's even gotten a little bit of separation on some of these deep overs and crossers and stuff. And then he also has 5 avoided tackles. Which
more importantly, like just looking at that offense. Sorry, go ahead, finish that. I didn't
He had
want to
11 avoided tackles all of last year, 15 games. He has
and he has
5 in
five
2
already.
games.
Well, there's a couple things on that. One, he was playing through like I believe pneumonia or something that really impacted him
Yep.
last year that wasn't really discussed. And he just looks like a completely different player despite that BS kind of, he was out of shape this offseason, looks fine. But the other thing is, like, when I watched the film of the first game, Commanders versus Giants, they schemed up ways to get Deebo Samuel matched up with the Giants safety on these key third down situations one-on-one. They're not scheming anything for McLaurin. They're just lining him up as the X. That's what Cliff does. And it's just go ahead and win. And Adebo shut him down in week 1. And week 2, he didn't really win a lot of those routes either for the most part, besides the underneath stuff. So, like, if you're asking me, and then there's the red zone role where Debo's going to get a better opportunity just with the design runs. I think I would take Debo over McLaurin.
Totally fair. And where I have him, which is 52 compared to 47 for McLaurin, is like way above consensus.
Yeah.
So this might be another trade target for you. Even though he's put numbers on the board, it's possible that, you know, somebody drafted him in the 90s or whatever and like doesn't think that he is somebody who belongs in this range. Like most people might still think Marvin Harrison Jr. is better or whatever. It sounds like you're higher on Debo. How about like Jamison Williams, Ricky Pearsall, Jalen Waddle, Debo ahead of all those guys easily?
Debo ahead of those guys for me.
Okay. So we've hit the very fun part of our rankings here where I do have Ja'Cory Croskey-Merritt at 59th overall.
Before you do that, you might need to take a mini victory lap on Tucker Kraft, who I respect how high you have him ranked, and he looked awesome in week 2.
Yes, he did. And they're expanding his role where it's not just the short catch and run stuff, which, by the way, he's been so good on the short catch and run stuff. If you look at a player's like initial, 20 or 30 games, however many he's played, the only player who is even close is George Kittle historically at the tight end position in terms of yards after the catch per reception. But now we're seeing that they're also willing to use him down the field a little bit, which is something that Jordan Love mentioned might happen this year, that we might see his role expanded in that way. But you kind of need to see it before you believe it, because he truly has had like one of the lowest average depths of target of any player. He only has had like a handful of targets down the field in his first couple of years. So I've got on the screen here, average depth of target in year 1 was 3.9 yards. It was 5.3 in year 2. It's up to 9.7, which is a 2-game sample size. It might not settle at 10, but like we're seeing him get used down the field more. He had 4 catches of 10 or more air yards already in 2 games this year. Last year, he didn't make his 4th reception of 10 or more air yards until week 14. So it's clearly different, I think, the way that they're using him. And when you add that to the fact that he's like been such an efficient player, 10 yards per target last year. That's up to 12.7 so far this year, which is going to regress. But it's like, this guy's really good. If the offense passes a lot, he could legitimately be like a top 3 tight end. But even if they don't, I think he's a top 8, top 10 tight end.
It seems so unlikely he won't finish in the top 8 or top 10, because even though we probably assume there will be some frustrating games with any Packers receiver, the blow-up games like he had in week 2 are going to be enough to get him up there.
Yeah. All right. I've got Tyler Warren at 50, Tucker Kraft at 51. I've got them ahead of Deebo Samuel, Marvin Harrison Jr., and all these running backs I'm about to tell you, and I've got them behind the T. Higgins, Tyreek Hill, Terry McLaurin, and Emeka Egbuka, Travis Etienne group. Does that feel about right for you? It's kind of hard to fit in.
Yes.
Find the right range for these tight ends.
It's always hard to fit a tight end, but the one I'd be bullish on and just definitely not trade high would be Warren. Just watching a little bit of that Colts tape. This offense is designed to get him the ball.
For sure. 97% first read target rate for Daniel Jones.
That was insane.
97%, the highest, the only rate above 95% in the fantasy points data's history, which dates back to 2021, any game, regular or postseason.
It checks out so hard, but I don't want to, all I have to do is eat crow at this point on that player. But look, Steichen's doing a great job of designing open first reads.
I was going to say, I don't know why eat crow. This is literally the definition of a system quarterback. Like he's doing it better than Anthony Richardson could. Like, I guess that's true.
And respect for Steichen for designing first reads that are not being figured out by the opposing defense. Like that's what every coach is trying to design a first read rate. for now. And that's the key. But it might take an offseason to adjust to this. It took an offseason to adjust to the system that Dable and Kafka ran in 2022 with Jones, and then it was totally done. But they are not doing as good a job as what Steichen did. Steichen's doing an insane job with this first read stuff. Like, when you can throw 97% first read and still throw for 300, that's insane.
It definitely is insane. And it speaks to the coaching and the pass catchers for sure. When I see a stat like this, it's like, yep, that is such a clear signal that this isn't real. Like, maybe they can do it for the bulk of the season or whatever. Maybe it isn't something that gets adjusted to until next year, but count me skeptical.
Yeah.
The running backs I have in this range, just after Debo and MHJ, you find Alvin Kamara, who had an encouraging usage week 2 after a discouraging week 1. Javonte Williams, I'll give you some stats on him. They're crazy. Tony Pollard, James Conner, Travion Henderson, and Ja'Cory Croskey-Merritt. Anybody stand out to you from this range?
Well, I look at Javonte Williams to start. He's a little bit up. just watch his tape this week. I kind of feel like Javonte Williams is going to be a thing this year in fantasy.
He's RB7 in expected fantasy points and RB2 in actual fantasy points.
So one, the Cowboys have just consistently invested in their offensive line. I think they'll just get better and better in the run game. And I think that Schottenheimer's done some fun, diverse things on tape there. 2, the Cowboys defense is disgustingly bad. Like, that was one of the worst performances I've seen by a defense on tape ever. Eberflus is just running 99% zone in the first 2 weeks and getting torched in this regard because he has no pass rush. So they're going to be in these constant shootouts, but even in these shootouts, Javonte plays. Like, he's still on the field. So we're going to get these touchdowns. We're going to get, like, you know what I mean? Like, what? And he gets targets too. Like, Dak's a guy who can go through his progressions and throw to his running back because he's a really smart, high processing, fast processing quarterback. So, like, what is not to like about Javonte? He's going to get volume in the pass game. He's going to get a ton of red zone looks. They score a lot of points, the Cowboys. They're in these incredible game scripts for a fantasy standpoint. And I don't think Miles Sanders is going to take too many snaps from him. And I don't think Jaden Blue, who was a coach's decision inactive, is going to take many snaps from him. I don't think they're going to sign anyone. So, I mean.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. Is like, this is working just fine. He had a positive run on 93% of his runs in week 1 against the Eagles. And through 2 weeks, I think he's 5th in that metric in terms of percentage of his runs that are positive. And that's an offensive line stat, and that's a Javonte stat. This is a guy who is incredibly explosive at North Carolina. His first couple of years in Denver, he didn't
look that way on tape. Let me be
He
clear.
doesn't have the same lateral explosiveness that he did then to make people miss. But in terms of, like, straight ahead explosiveness and burst to, like, get there, I think he's kind of close. It reminds me of Nick Chubb a little bit, where it's like, not the same player, same instincts though, and he has more burst than Chubb does. And it's kind of worked for Chubb. That's, like, kind of been one of the few things that's worked for Houston. I know that's disgusting. Like, it's not working well, but, like, this is like a better version of that. And the offensive environment is way, way better.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm fine just, like, taking a huge L on this. And if you got him late, that was a huge win. I didn't have him high because I didn't think there was very much receiving upside. And I thought at some point,
he'll lose the job. Right?
He would lose at least part of the job, that it would be split up among him and Jaden Blue and players like that. But right now it's like, why wouldn't he? He's one of the best pass protectors at running back in the league. And he's running effectively and the offense is working. Why wouldn't he just keep playing? It's not like DeAndre Swift, where it's like the expected fantasy points are there, but the run game's not working, even though it's blocked well.
And the offense might suck.
Yeah, no, I think this is, I mean, it seems crazy to put him up in this range.
I almost want to put him higher. I think the only reason he's this low is because of the player and the expectation for who he is from a pure talent standpoint, because from a fantasy standpoint, the situation is as good as it gets.
There's also just this little part of me that's like, Jaden Blue could be really good. Like, I don't know if he's ever even going to get to play.
Right.
But I don't think he's as good as Tootin, but it might be a similar effect where it's like he might just be good enough that they feel the need to get this explosiveness out there because they don't have a lot of like Kevonta Turpin is probably, and CeeDee Lamb, those are their catch and run options, you know, like they don't have a lot of manufactured touch, explosive ball in their hand players. And that could be Blue, which would come at the expense of Javonte. But right now it looks all good. It looks wheels up for like a top. I mean, if this happens all season, it's legitimately a top 12 or 15 running back
Right?
season. Yeah.
Yeah, if it happens all season. I actually want to run this by you real quick. So another trade I just did before the show. I did 2 trades today in fantasy. I love it. I love wheeling and dealing. This is one I would never accept in the past, but I did accept it. It's a 14-team superflex league, Jacob, where you get a half point for completion as a quarterback. So quarterbacks are just gold in this league. And I have Anthony Richardson rostered. I drafted him. It was early, and obviously I didn't know Jones was going to win the job. So I wanted to get Jones on this roster if possible. I traded Bryce Young, Chase Brown, and T. Higgins for Daniel Jones, Javonte Williams, and Devontae Adams. Your thoughts?
Whew. Bryce
Right?
and T. Higgins and Chase Brown.
It
Is that what
seems
you
like a
said?
trade you'd never do.
No.
And then I looked at it for a while. It was offered to me, and I said, I think I want to do this. I
Crazy.
think for us,
Yeah.
Devontae may be more than Chase, or at least as much. I know for a fact I like Devontae Adams better than Higgins rest of year. And then I get Jones Richardson instead of Bryce.
Yeah, there's no point in belaboring the point about Stafford, but it's like if Stafford
I
goes
know.
down,
It
we're
kills
in
me.
the exact same spot that T.
I
Higgins
know.
is in.
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah, that makes me nervous.
It's a
But
risky deal.
it definitely could work out if the infrastructure stays in place for Javonte and Devontae. You crush. You just got these vets who are just like putting up alpha
What about
points.
Jones? What if they don't figure out the Jones thing for a while? He's throwing 97% first read, but like the offense environment there is also amazing.
Yeah,
Like, if you
Daniel
watch
Jones
the
could
Colts O-line-
easily outpace Bryce Young as we're
Right.
seeing. Yeah. Now you might have just like won at all 3 spots potentially. That sounds
Potentially,
ridiculous.
but you could also so easily lose. It was a really risky deal, and it's like the dumb thing to do. You're like, I'm basically buying high on Javonte Williams, Daniel
Yeah.
Jones. Like that's as dumb as it gets in fantasy. You don't want to be the buy high guy, but I just feel like I'm selling these 2 Bengals before it could get uglier than people think for the Bengals offense.
Yeah. Thanks, Nathan Reynolds. Loves the show. Don't
Thank
panic,
you.
guys. Don't panic. Even if you're 0-2, don't panic.
Yeah.
Like you're here. Listen to this. We'll talk about as many players as we can. Devontae Smith. No, he's not droppable. This is Devontae Smith. He's good. He plays on the Eagles. They're going to have games like this. There will also be games to offset it where he'll win you your week. I know it sucks to start slow. Somebody was saying the same thing. Like, you guys, gave me all this hope about Nico Collins and BTJ. First off, we didn't give you the hope. They did. They're amazing players. They're incredible. They're some of the most talented players in the league at any position. You probably drafted them because you were convicted about how good they were. That hasn't changed. Like, maybe BTJ has an inability to go get the ball for the whole season that we didn't see last year. But outside of that, nothing has changed really for these players. We knew that they were in sort of fragile offensive environments with the offensive line in Houston, with Trevor Lawrence being a volatile player. Nothing has really changed. Take a breath. It's been 14 days since he made those picks. It's going to be all right.
Sure.
Jamison Williams, I have after Ja'Cory Croskey-Merritt. We've got some interesting receivers here, and then we get to Bashal Tootin and RJ Harvey. So I want to get your thoughts. Henderson at 58, Croskey-Merritt at 59, Tootin at 63, RJ Harvey at 64. While you're thinking about it, I do want to real quick say James Conner's workload isn't quite where we've seen it. It's just 2 weeks. I don't want to freak out.
Nope.
But
you should freak out. Benson
I've
looks
moved
good.
him down. I moved him down 10 to 12 spots from where I had him before the season started. And that's because Trey Benson is playing a large role on passing downs. Targets weren't a huge part of Conner's outlook. And so it's not a huge deal if he loses these, as long as the rushing efficiency picks up, which I think that it can. Nothing that I've seen from his film or from the underlying advanced rushing data suggests that he's taken a step back as a rusher. So I think it's probably just a small sample size, and he'll get back to crushing on the ground.
Sure.
And the Cardinals have looked pretty good. I think they're potentially a team that can just beat teams with the run game. So it could be a totally fine season, but he has lost a little bit of work. That's why he's moved down a little bit.
I want to think what you said, and I do think he's been efficient, but this Benson role is real, 1, and 2, I'm just so worried about the Cardinals being like 5 defensive backs injured deep on that in that secondary. Like I don't know what's gonna happen to that. So I feel it's been a little bit disappointing for Connor from about and the same thing. My boy above him, Pollard, who I thought was going to be a great draft value. It's been really disappointing there. Just watching that, it's another one of these Raiders, Chargers type situations where they're just generating nothing in the ground game from an offensive line standpoint. Latham will return, will help. situation, but I just get a feeling it's going to be a gross offense all year in Tennessee.
Might be. What do you think all these rookie running backs? Henderson,
Yeah.
Ja'Cory Croskey-Merritt, Tootin, Harvey. Is that how you would rank them?
I'm happy that you have. Well, that's crazy. It sounds. I might rank Tootin 1. Honestly, dude. Like,
Sure.
We talked about it earlier when we went over the Travis Etienne thing. It's just such a friendly environment for running backs with that yards created before contact with that coaching scheme from Liam Cohen. And I love what I've seen from Tootin. I think he's looked the most comfortable of any rookie running back so far. He runs with patience. He sets up his blocks. He really presses on those outside zone runs and then cuts back. It's everything we saw on his Virginia Tech tape. It depends on what, like the question's interesting. Like for now, Jacob, as we move forward to week 3 of the fantasy football season and people are like, I'm 0-2. I need points. I need something. RJ does nothing for me. It's like, okay, well, in that case, I would have it ranked as you have it ranked. Maybe Harvey last and Tootin a little higher. But we drafted Harvey for like the fantasy playoffs and the stretch run, right? And we still believe in his talent. So I don't want to drop these players too low. Like for Harvey, for Henderson, I'm not as sold because I just think in a Josh McDaniels offense, it's really tough to get more of a role than he has right now, if that makes sense. But he still does have the receptions. But for Harvey, I just think ultimately at some point, either Dobbins will get injured as he has it pretty much. Has it been every season of his career? Because he was injured even last year.
Right.
Or 2, they'll just trust Harvey more.
I hope so. Harvey is last in the league in rushing success rate, which is what you were concerned about when you watched the preseason, right?
Yep.
And he's adjusting from a not pro style level collegiate offense to the pros. So like I'm a little nervous that it might be a slow start. I think his bye is not till week 11 or something like that. I'm nervous that you're not going to be able to use Harvey at all for like 2 months.
Yeah.
And that's tough. So that's why I've moved him down a little bit where he's in this 64 is where I have him ranked. I think he was drafted above that, but still like this isn't, I'm not panicking. I'm not moving him all the way down because I think by the end of the season, he could be really productive. Again, listen to the episode we did with Adam Azer where I gave some context relative to him and Henderson that I think is interesting. I think Henderson and Ja'Cory Croskey-Merritt I have at the top because they're the most likely to get time. I think within the next month, you might be able to roll out either one of these guys and feel fairly confident about it.
Yeah.
And by the end of the season, they're hopefully putting up big numbers.
Hill is the one I'm most excited about, I think, because we haven't seen it yet, but we have seen him look good, A, and I think you're going to show some numbers here that backed it up. B, I just have the most faith in the environment there. I know exactly what we're going to get from Cliff Kingsbury in the run game, and it's really good.
Yeah. Henderson is a bust, the people say. 2
Not
weeks?
yet. Not yet.
Oh, not yet.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have any thoughts on these receivers? We finally hit the Sam Laporta range. Calvin Ridley, I think I moved down even further. It's been bad.
Yes. And I was it's funny, all off season I was in on Ridley. Then at the very end I got off because I shout out to Adam Azer. He really brought up a great point about Ridley's just lack of success as a fantasy player besides the one season. And he doesn't score touchdowns. So I think the real interesting thing is as a waiver wire guy, and I don't know if I'm getting the name right, I like Ayumanor. Like he looked pretty damn good, man. He could end up being more of like a tandem role between him and Ridley from a target standpoint.
It's already that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got stats on him, of course. First read target rate was higher than Ridley's in week 1.
Wow.
On the season, they've got an even first read target rate. They did try to get the ball back to Ridley more in week 2 after he had this just embarrassing week 1 game. And it didn't really amount to a whole much. I think Ayumanor, he had some great plays out there. I loved him as a prospect, but people were really negative about the finer points of his game, maybe not being able to be translatable. So far, I mean, can you ask for more than winning a starting job right away? Sure, it's on the Titans, but week 1, starting and playing a full role, and then coming in here and having as many targets as an established veteran and former first-round pick, and the team's clear-cut wide receiver 1 from the year before. I mean, Cam Ward, all he could talk about was Calvin Ridley being the best receiver in the league this summer.
Yep.
And instead, it's Ayumanor, and Ayumanor has a higher route win rate than Ridley by far through 2 weeks. He has a higher average separation score. He's wide receiver. I thought I had it here. He's in the top 20 in win rate. His route win rate, every route charted, his route win rate is in between Nico Collins and Roma Dunze through 2 weeks. He's legitimately playing very well.
Yeah. I get these wrong every time. So shout out Dave Richard, who's tuning in right now. And he gave me the right pronunciation. It's Io Manor. So I will do my best to remember that.
Yeah.
And you were right on that all along. I was wrong on that all along. I've had debates throughout time on pronunciations of names and been wrong. Like I'm like an 80 to 85% clip wrong on pronouncing. It's really insane how much I've gotten wrong. But Io Manor. Now, back to what you were saying, like, I think this is a good lesson in scouting that we can take moving forward because I'm excited to just have a long time doing the show with you, Jacob. I really love it. And I think the most fun for me is going to be when we get to like every offseason rookie scouting in the April, March time. And a really good lesson, I think, is, and this happened at times like the beginning of Jamar Chase's career with the drops and training camp, blah, 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 and other prospects. Too many people focus on what they can't do rather than what they can do well. And they use that to kind of bring down a ranking or an opinion on a player. When what NFL teams are focusing on is what can these guys do at a different level than the competition that we're projecting they'll face at the NFL level. And so, yeah, there were some issues on Io. Let me get it right. Io Manor's tape.
Nice.
There were some issues on Io Manor's tape, but the things he did well were really, really good. And so I think that's a good example of like teams focusing on that. The Titans obviously saw that. And so far, so good. I mean, you mentioned it, like to earn this role as a rookie is impressive, especially when you have a veteran on the roster like Lockett, who maybe is older, but he's still doing things the right way. And you have to really be doing things the right way, in my mind, from a preparation standpoint to get that kind of role and to earn it. So I'm with you on that. I'm pretty high on him.
He shot way up the board for me. Calvin Ridley is moving down. Originally, I had Ridley in the 50 to 60 range, I think, overall. I've got him at 74 overall right now, behind Jacoby Myers, who role looks great. I think it'll probably get scaled back if Brock Bowers gets, up to full health. But for right now, man, Jacoby Myers has like one of the 12 or 15 best roles of any receiver in the NFL for fantasy. Juwan Jennings, I have ahead of Calvin Ridley. Chris Olave, I have just one spot behind him. Jordan Addison coming off the suspension. It's kind of like Rice. If he's only got one more game though, right?
Yeah.
Worried about the quarterback situation though, too. Honestly, I'm going to move him right ahead of Ridley, behind Jacoby Myers and Juwan Jennings. Juwan Jennings looked like the guy that we know. And meanwhile, I'm seeing
hurt again, right?
I'm seeing tweets of Ricky Pearsall getting just shoved to the ground immediately versus press coverage. And it's like, that ain't happening to Juwan.
They only have a few more weeks until Ayuk's back too.
Yeah. I just think he's so good, man. They need a player like this.
Yeah. Isn't he hurt again? No, I just want to double check that. I thought Juwan Jennings was a little bit banged up after that game. Let me take a look.
Well, Dan checks that. I'm going to say thank you to everybody for being here. We've got 809 in the live chat, and please do give us a like while you're here.
I think he's fine.
Let me show you why you like the show. It's stuff like this. PPR point per touch leaders at running back. Bashal Tootin, running back 2. Jacoy Croskey-Merritt, running back 5. Travion Henderson, running back 9. And PPR points per touch. So, it's okay. It's okay to just like take a breath. I think calling these guys busts is pretty crazy. Like the guy that you saw that looked so good this preseason, Travion Henderson, he's still here. He's still here. He just like isn't quite there with the role that we need. But I bet that is probably coming. They took him at the top of the second round. They need playmakers on this team. He's been very good on a per touch basis.
And just to confirm, according to Kyle Shanahan, it's an ankle injury that he suffered. He came into the game with a shoulder, but now Jennings is an ankle injury. Says we'll have to just see where we're at this week with that. So,
okay, yeah, that sucks. Okay, we've got Devontae Smith. So after Tootin and Harvey, you've got Sam Laporta and Devontae Smith, and then a few more running backs. Jordan Mason could be really trending up for Mason. I think he could be somebody who, in terms of perceived value, shoots way up the board because he might be looking at like 20 touches per game over the next month. And he's a really good
touches.
Well, maybe he's a really good player.
He's
man.
a great player. I don't mean it like that. He's awesome.
He's the kind of player you can feed 20 touches to, and even if your offense sucks, it can work all right. We saw that last year. What I'm worried about, why I don't have him higher, is I'm worried that he's going to give his heart and soul to the team, and then he'll be left with nothing at the end of the year, which is also what we saw last year. Like he doesn't know his own limits. I wouldn't be surprised if he's
interesting
gets worn down. Yeah. But
that offense environment looks gross to me.
The setup is good. That's totally fair. Speaking of gross offensive environments, we also find Jalen Warren in this range, another player who does not know his own limits and
Yeah.
will give everything for the cause. I love these guys. Jalen Warren last week, before the game got out of hand,
Yeah.
had like a 70% snap rate. His expected fantasy point number in the first half was like 9. So he's on pace for 18, which would be like a top 5 number at the running back position. He was getting everything. He was getting long receptions. He was getting all the route running and receiving and stuff that Kenny Gainwell got in week 1. So we'll see how that develops, because if he gets that and Caleb Johnson keeps blundering his way off of the field, like this
Right.
is a really good player in a really high volume role. The only piece that would be missing for fantasy would be upside in the offense. David Montgomery, I have at 69, just behind those two. That's about where he got drafted, and I feel like if anything, he could move up because like he's really involved, so you can flex start him. The offense looked better in week 2, so maybe we're not so worried about the touchdown upside and everything with the offense. And if Jahmyr Gibbs goes down, he's like a top 6 or 8, 10, top 10 running back at least on a per game basis. So I think this is about where he belongs. And then we have Justin Herbert, who is running more. The offense looks good. The offense is throwing a ton. So he's one of the rare quarterbacks that I'm actually pushing up into this range of flex players. Most of the time, it's like I either want the best quarterbacks or I'm just like totally fine waiting. I have Herbert at 70 and Drake May at 79. And then you find like a big group of them down at 97. That's where you find Patrick Mahomes.
So I like it. I like that you're bullish. I'm even a little bit more. And I think it doesn't really matter because I agree with you. It kind of is more so on a positional basis, Jacob, but I'm even more bullish on Herbert moving forward. And I'm kind of mad I didn't just get him in every league because he's now running. He's finally running and he just looks finally healthy. Like when I watch him run now, it's not this labored running. He actually looks really good. He had one run against the Raiders where he could have turned it into something big. He didn't really run much besides that, but in week 1, he ran more. I think it's going to be part of his game. I think there's going to be some red zone touchdowns. And if that's a part of his game too, like if he's also a running quarterback like he can be, I mean, he profiled very similar to Josh Allen from a size, speed standpoint, maybe a little bit slower. He just becomes such a different fantasy asset. He's accrued so many fantasy points over his career by being one of the better processing and passers in the NFL. When you add that element, I just think he could end up as a top 5, top 6 QB overall.
Yeah, he looks really good, man. The receiver range we already started talking about is Juwan Jennings, Jacoby Myers. These are who I have after Herbert, Calvin Ridley, Chris Olave, DK Metcalf. The role's kind of been there, but his average depth of target has been below 5 yards in both games. So there's really not much upside. Plus the fact that the offense, like outside of a weird week 1, like I don't think they're going to score a lot of passing touchdowns probably. Arthur Smith has not produced good receivers. Like honestly, I don't even really want him this high. I have him ahead of Travis Hunter and DJ Moore and Xavier Worthy and Matthew Golden. And I think there's like way more upside with all of those players.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Golden is somebody who we talked about a little bit earlier. I still think is a nice buy low candidate, just given his separation score and what he is as a talent.
Oh yeah, Golden is just like creating massive wins. And now Jaden Reed is out, so that clears up a little bit of potentially more playing time and targets. But I also think Dontavian Wicks is playing really well
He is
right now. And he's playing ahead of Golden, and Dubs is playing ahead of Golden, is playing well too. So that's why I didn't want to get too carried away with the Golden steam just based off of the fact that he's winning all these routes and looking like the player that we thought he could be. There's still a ways to go before we feel like we can plug him in. Obviously, he had 0 catches last week, but it could have been a much bigger game. For anybody who watched that, it like easily could have been a much bigger game.
Yeah, definitely.
Scadaboo is an interesting one. Him and J.K. Dobbins are both in this range, so that's behind Warren and Montgomery and Mason, ahead of DeAndre Swift, who I think might lose the role. I think Dobbins is more likely to keep the role between him and Swift. Ramondre Stevenson, I have below them as well. Isaiah Pacheco, I have below them. Pacheco has lost a lot of work to Kareem Hunt. They haven't even really started using Brashard Smith, the rookie running back that they like so much. They've had him out there on passing downs. He's been playing, but they haven't really gotten the ball in his hands at all. And they've played, the Chargers and the Eagles so far, which are big games where it's like, they trust Kareem Hunt. They know what they have there. I wonder if they'll get Smith more looks as they get into, matchups against the Giants and stuff like that, where they can kind of test that out a little bit. I don't know. Pacheco, it's like, I
Yeah.
guess I will roster him. Like, I don't really even know what the heck to do with him. What are your thoughts?
I'm just there with you. And he was someone I was like curious about. I didn't draft any of him. I have him 0 leagues, but I was curious. I was like, I see the upside case. He's an awesome runner. He's on the Chiefs offense. And now I look at it, I'm like, the Chiefs offense looks really bad in the run game for some reason. And Pacheco doesn't have the role I want. And just generally speaking, this Chiefs offense doesn't score a lot of points. Like, it's not the Chiefs offense anymore. I can't keep leaning on that anymore. So I'm with you. I'm not going to cut him because I don't really prefer, like, what am I going to get on the waiver wire in most competitive leagues at running back or even at receiver? So I'll probably just bench stash him.
Yeah. How do you feel about this Travis Hunter ranking? 81 is way down from where I had him before the season. It feels like maybe an overreaction, but I'm just like not feeling great about it so far.
Yeah. So again, obviously I made the trade. We talked about it earlier, but taking more snaps on defense, like you said, not a good situation passing wise.
Just compare him to the receivers around him. DJ Moore or Travis Hunter? Xavier Worthy or Travis Hunter? Golden Hunter?
Worthy for sure. Golden for sure over Hunter. The DJ Moore one, that's interesting. I think I would take DJ Moore over him, though. I trust that passing game a little bit more to get back on track.
See, that's like 81 feels too low, especially because like I don't feel like I have any idea what could happen. Like when I've watched all his routes, and it's like that felt like a huge waste of time. Like you know what I mean? Like I don't think I'm seeing anything here that's like relevant as to like projecting forward, and so that's why I don't want to like drop him. Because I think he could be a really special player, but it's like, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen anything that looks like a special player as an NFL player. He looks like a small, skinny slot receiver that's like doing a bunch of really simple stuff and not having enough room to really make anything out of it. But like that definitely could change. And so I don't know, man. I don't know what the heck to do with him. But like, yeah, I think DJ Moore, Worthy, or Golden easily could end up being more valuable than him.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. These are just players that we know the talent is there, but from a fantasy standpoint, we don't know if they're going to have much of an impact on redraft right now. It would require the offenses to look different than we saw in the first 2 weeks, which is definitely possible. And at least that will happen for at least one of these players.
As for DJ Moore, this could shift. It's only 2 games, but his first read target rate is 19%. It was 32% last year. Meanwhile, Romadunze, his rate was 19% as a rookie. It's up to 33%. And they're moving him around a lot. They're getting him the ball now down the field. We saw in week 2, Odunze, that is. So like, it seems like DJ Moore is just behind him, and maybe some of the cryptic stuff coming out from Bid Johnson is about DJ Moore. We don't really know. Luther Burden could be looming, but at the same time, like Keenan Allen had a freaking 29% first read target rate in this offense last year, and that player's just gone now. There's nobody who's really taken that. So maybe DJ Moore's rate could be higher, and this could be an overreaction because he was. This is well behind where he was drafted. 83. I think he was drafted in the 50s or 60s. So there could be upside. I just wanted to point that out. Like the sky doesn't have to be falling, even though it kind of seems like it is right now.
Sure.
Zach Charbonnet, Ramondre Stevenson, Isaiah Pacheco, followed by 2 really interesting guys here, Trey Benson and Quinshon Judkins. The role wasn't great for Judkins, but he looked like clearly the best running back in Cleveland last week. I think we'll continue to see him get more and more. He started the game. And got a lot of carries, but he only played like 29% of the snaps or something like that. So it's like Jacory Croskey-Merritt's week 1 role. I think we'll see it grow. Benson, we already talked about, like his role is growing. And if something were to happen to Connor, then he would probably be a top 18, 15 fantasy running back, something like that. Then we find your guys here, Jake Ferguson and Travis Kelce.
Guys, that tight end.
These are your guys. Own it, dude.
These are not my guys.
Jake Ferguson, more avoided tackles than any tight end since the start of 2024. I don't know why Dan won't take him as his guy. Since the start of 2023, actually. He's a good player. Led the team in first read targets last week. They're getting him the ball. I'm totally fine with him in this range, even though this mid-range of tight ends normally doesn't matter. Here are 3 guys who I think could. Maybe Jake Ferguson, if he gets lucky with touchdowns, is a top 5 tight end. Maybe if Juwan Johnson keeps getting the volume that he's been getting and Spencer Rattler is actually okay, which is what he seemed like so far, maybe he's a top 8 or 5 tight end. Travis Kelce, number 1 at tight end in route win rate, number 1 at tight end in average separation score in week 2. It's actually a really good game for Kelce. Every time he got the ball, I was like, wow.
I know.
And then he had that really bad drop that lost him the game. But other than that, like it was a really, like he popped. It's him and Tyquan Thornton are the only 2 guys where it's like, okay, there's a little bit of life in the offense. So like that could be something. We've talked about
Mm-hmm.
the weight loss and everything. Maybe it's real. He's moved up in my rankings. These 3 tight
Good.
ends might matter. Followed by Darnell Mooney. We're getting into high upside, but pretty speculative plays here. Darnell Mooney,
Sure.
Quentin Johnston,
Quentin
Keon
Johnston's
Coleman.
the interesting one for me.
Sure.
I'm starting to believe. As much as I didn't love him as a prospect, I feel like he always had the ability to work on the things that plagued his game. And some of them were just like, not just concentration drops, but the ability to like adjust the ball in the air, that body control, and just being more of a hands catcher. And then just will the Chargers use him more to his skill set, which is on crossing routes, getting him the ball in space, letting him run after the catch horizontally to vertically. I just feel like they're starting to understand what he is as a player. And he's still that guy as a deep threat too. They still run him on the rail routes where Herbert's just like looking front side on the play, knowing he has Johnson on the backside and being like, I'm Justin Herbert. At any point I can flip my hips and put the ball right on the money 50 yards down the field to this guy that's going to be in single coverage like every time. So I just kind of like what's not to like.
If the offense stays super pass heavy and like you got defenses really scared about Ladd McConkey and he's got the quarterback who can make any throw and the offensive coordinator who's doing all the pre-snap motion and play action type stuff to keep defenses guessing whether it's going to be McConkey, whether it's going to be Hampton, where is it going to go?
Yeah.
You end up with a lot of QJ 101 situations.
Right.
And if he can catch the freaking ball, then like he can turn a lot of those into big plays and even touchdowns, which is what we've seen. We've seen in the past too, though. And then it ended up flaming out. But he's another year deeper into his development. The coaching staff seems to be one that develops players well and like gives them a lot of belief. And maybe that's all he's needed. I don't know. You look at the players who have ranked ahead of him. It's Golden, Worthy, Moore, Hunter. It's other,
and obviously all more upside. We know that.
Maybe it's all other wide receiver twos. I mean, he was around one pick because he's an insane athlete. Maybe all he needed was to be in this situation where everything, literally, the stars have aligned for him to crush. Like everything is there from an offensive infrastructure for this to work. If he can just do it, if he can just hold on to the ball when it's there for him. I think he could easily outscore these guys. There are other wide receiver twos that are probably better players than him, but I don't know. Worthy maybe is that he like his drops aren't as bad as QJ, but like the situational awareness with getting in and everything like that, like it was similar to QJ last year. I think he's going to be a better player, but do we know that Golden is a better player? We really haven't seen it yet. I think his collegiate ball tracking was much better than QJ's was, but I don't think his situation's as good as QJ's. So like, what I'm saying is I have him well ahead of consensus as a reaction to what we've seen here. And it might not actually even be like he could push higher than that. And you might be able to get him like from a savvy fantasy manager who thinks they're selling high and he just like keeps producing.
Yeah.
I definitely think it's a good call because like everybody just laughs at him. I think that's still kind of where we're at.
I think his passing situation is a lot healthier than a lot of the players we have ranked above him. And I think they're in a position now, if they're going to continue to be as pass heavy with one of the best pure passers in the NFL and Justin Herbert, to support two receivers. And I think he's that other receiver. Yeah. Now, obviously Keenan Allen's part of it too. That's part of the mix too, which is fair to have him ranked this low, but I'm in on him and Allen. Like I'd have Allen ranked higher as well, personally.
I don't have any QJ, and I don't know if that's going to change. But if you come here next week and you're like, I made a trade for QJ and Javonte Williams, and I was like, okay, maybe it works out. I don't know.
Luck. Trading high for the high guys.
Behind those guys is more, wide receiver 2 and 3 players who could have upside, could have value, but I just don't feel quite as good about it. It's Cedric Tillman, Rashid Shaheed. I mean, Shaheed continues to kind of look like he might leapfrog Olave, which sounds crazy to me because I think Olave is so good, but Shaheed is also really good. Khalil Shakir, he's dropping. The offense just doesn't. It's hard to produce many fantasy relevant pieces. So if that's going to be Keon Coleman and not Shakir, I just don't know if you can start him.
Yeah.
Coleman actually gave us some good separation metrics in week 2, which is good because week 1 it wasn't charted well. It was basically like he did exactly what you'd expect in these situations. He didn't go win a lot on his own. But in week 2, like he actually had some of the best charting separation metrics he's ever had. And we know the offense could be good. So maybe this is a time where you can get him cheaper because he only had 3 targets because the offense didn't pass at all. Keenan Allen follows Khalil Shakir. Jerry Jeudy I've moved down. I'm nervous that the Joe Flacco shoe is going to drop at some point, and we're going to be in a situation where you can't use these guys, and the offense isn't nearly as concentrated on Judy and Njoku as it has been in the past. So those are two of the biggest fallers for me. Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs, I don't know what the heck to do with him. I think you just kind of hold him and see if he emerges. He played a little bit more this week. Kayshon Bouttie's making plays, but he's not like the wide receiver one necessarily in terms of playing time or targets. He was in week 1, but last week they really mixed and matched a bunch of different guys. To me, Diggs, the guy that went and got this offseason, seems like the most likely of
That's probably
anybody
fair
to become a wide receiver one. To me, it's like him or Kyle Williams, who I'm in love with.
We saw a little bounce back from our boy Josh Downs finally.
Yes, love to see it. Caleb Williams, Daniel Jones is what separates Stephon Diggs and Josh Downs. And the rankings here, we're down outside of the top 100. We're getting into some interesting names here. It's Michael Pittman, Josh Downs, Wan'Dale Robinson, Alec Iomanner. Wan'Dale Robinson, 160-plus air yards, a lot of them catchable. Do you think it's just a matchup thing against Eberflus and the Cowboys defense, or do you think maybe we see this really fast receiver who had one at times in Kentucky start to see his role expanded?
I think it's pretty clear there's a very concentrated pass game in New York. It's Neighbors and it's Wan'Dale Robinson. It's basically nothing else at this point. Slayton had a nice bomb. That was it. Basically no looks. Theo Johnson's been a disaster, unfortunately, from a developmental standpoint. So it just kind of depends on, do you believe the Giants fast game at all? Because he is one of these concentrated roles. So I actually kind of feel like he should be ranked a little bit higher ahead of some of these guys we just don't have clear-cut roles for, but not too much higher.
I think that could be totally fair. He could be like the QJ, where it's like it's not
that type of idea. Yep.
It's, you don't have Herbert is the big difference.
Yeah,
but
you have a more concentrated role because you don't have Keenan Allen in the mix.
Yeah.
There's like nothing in the mix besides Neighbors and Wan'Dale.
Aaron Jones, Tyrone Tracy, I have down in this range.
I like the move down for Tracy.
Yeah, nervous about both of them. Nervous about a hamstring for an aging running back here with Jones, and then obviously the offensive environment seems like it might be suspect for a while, maybe all year.
Right.
Dylan Sampson is next. He could be nothing. He might be somebody you're dropping in a few weeks, but I think he's just a good player. And so this team doesn't have a lot to play for. It wouldn't be surprising if at some point he's playing a meaningful role. Then we get to I hope these guys will help me at some point range. It's Brandon Ayuk, Chris Godwin, Christian Kirk, Jalen Coker, Isaac Tesla, and Jaden Higgins. Any thoughts on these players?
Tesla, a player who just continues to impress in the limited opportunities. Disappointing start for the career for Higgins, so I think is a talented player, but I'd have to drop him in the rankings because I don't trust that offense at all. I still want to see what Christian Kirk can be when he's healthy, though.
I do feel like he might be really helpful for them. Like, I don't know if they maybe trust their two rookies yet, and so they don't have anybody who can just be like a clear, quick winner. Nico can, but it's like if you're forcing Nico to do all of that for you, you're kind of like diminishing the value add of having Nico. Right. But like if Kirk can come do that stuff, then that would be really valuable because I mean, they're struggling to even get Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel on the field, even though both of them have flashed. You know, Noel had the big punt return, and Higgins has just looked really good. He's averaging, like, I think almost 3 yards per run. His separation scores have been really good. So, like, when he's getting chances, he's produced. And still they're at, like, 30, 35% snap rates because it seems like there's some lack of trust with them being integrated as a full-time player. So what you're left with is Xavier Hutchinson and I'm trying to remember who the other player even is. Guys not getting hardly any separation for you. Stroud maybe not feeling confident to hit them or throw the ball their way in a one-on-one when he's got the pressure bearing down on him because it could be an interception. But it's like Kirk, I think, in theory, is that player. And so I was hoping that you might still be high on Kirk. If you're not, then I would definitely rather have Coker and Higgins and Tesla than him. I just think there's way more upside.
I'm still a little high on Kirk. I'm just a little worried about the offense killing that.
Yeah. Beyond that, we've got Nick Chubb, Kyle Monangai. I do think could be coming for DeAndre Swift's work. Maybe Roschon Johnson, who's apparently finally back healthy, but it was Monangai this past week on the field.
Yeah.
Rashad Bateman hasn't done anything yet, but I do think is still a really good player. His separation scores back that up. He just hasn't, the ball hasn't really gone his way so far. But these players are kind of just speculative. Like, if something were to happen to Zay Flowers, I think Bateman becomes really productive. If Kyle Williams or Luther Burden are able to get on the field, I think they could potentially be really productive. And then we get some speculative running backs: Joe Mixon, Braylon Allen, Tyler Algier, Brian Robinson Jr. If they get on the field for some reason, these are, I guess, your premium players in terms of handcuffing. I don't even know if Braylon deserves this rank. He has not run well. It's a small sample size. The team seems to like him a lot, though. So if Brees were to go down, I do think he might get a lot of touches. And we finally, Dan, have arrived at Colston Loveland.
Sad.
Yes. It's not been good. He's not winning a lot. He's not playing a lot.
That's a big,
Do you have any thoughts on Loveland? I've got something to show the listeners, if you have anything, before I get that up.
Yeah, it's a tough start for us. We're super high on Loveland, and the main reasons we were, as we went over in the past, were the tape, what he was able to accomplish on a per game basis at Michigan, despite bad quarterback play, and then potential role in this offense. I think the key problem so far has not been him; it's been the role in this offense, and I don't know A, if that will change, but B, it's the health of the offense. So it's a combination actually of two things. The role is not there and the health of the offense is not there. It's not the Ben Johnson offense we were hoping it might be yet. That, I think, has a better chance to change. And if that changes, Loveland will have a role. But I just ultimately don't think it's going to be the role that I was hoping it would be when I ranked him as high as I did before the season.
Yeah. The reason I was so excited for Loveland is obviously the prospect profile in terms of athleticism and route running, but also the production on a per opportunity basis was like mind blowing for a player so young. And his age 19 and 20 season, his per route production was better than Brock Bowers. Overall, Bowers was better because Bowers, as an 18-year-old, had his best season. He's so good. I don't want to put Loveland like in that range, but it's like he was productive at 18, and then he just kept getting more and more productive. Whereas like Tyler Warren, it didn't come until his age 22 season. There were a lot of reasons to be excited about him as a prospect. And then he lands 10th overall with Ben Johnson, we're very excited about. But it is like the ways where he would win, where he would be integrated in this offense and become a really relevant player, are like, we're depending on you to be in the exact right spot because this play is designed to go to you. It's a play action play where Caleb needs to know you're going to be there because that's the throw. Even if there's pressure on Caleb as he turns around off play action, we need to know that you're there.
Yep.
And so like, it makes sense to me that there would be a slow start here. Like that was maybe what made me the most nervous. Anytime someone would show me their team this draft season was like, it would be a super dope team and they would have Loveland to tight end with nothing else. And I'm like, brother, like Godspeed. Cause like that, you might be taking zeros if that's your plan.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we've, I think, been able to quickly identify some waiver wire tight ends, whether that's Fannin or Juwan Johnson, or even somebody like Kyle Pitts, like coming out of that week one game and being like, he looks really good. Like, and he might not be drafted. A lot of places he wasn't. So hopefully you haven't just been rolling with Loveland. If you are, it's definitely time to adjust because he doesn't have the role right now. I can offer you the like hopium of like he's young and tight end takes time, and so like later in the season it could be better. But that doesn't feel good with Tyler Warren playing so good right now, does it?
No.
So I won't even like waste your time with that. I do want to show like my best estimate of what we're looking at with Loveland here, looking at historical context. These are rookie tight ends drafted in round 1 who had 5 or fewer targets through an initial 2 games. So it's a small sample size. If he comes out and happens to have 5 targets in week 3, that will shift this dramatically and he'll join a different group of players. But this is the closest I can give you so far. It's not a great start for Loveland so far. This data dates back to 2000. So in that sense, it is actually a large sample size. But since 2000, there have been 6 tight ends to have 170 PPR points across an initial 16 games that were drafted in round 1. All 6 of them had at least 11 targets across their first 2 games. Loveland is at 3.
Oof.
The group average was 13.2. So Tyler Warren has 16 targets through 2 games. He looks great. He looks like, Bowers and this group of 6 tight ends that have had the big tight end seasons. This is the group that Loveland falls into, where it's like the number I gave was 170 PPR points. There were 6 of them. The highest number from this group is 136. It's Brandon Pettigrew. It's OJ Howard. It doesn't inspire a lot of confidence,
Vernon
but
Davis,
you do have
baby.
Vernon Davis in here. Like you do have Greg Olson in
Yeah.
here. Heath Miller and Dustin Keller were very good players. So like long term, I do not think you need to overreact at all. But for this season, it's unlikely, based off of the start, it's unlikely that we get anything from Loveland that's meaningful. Maybe, though, by the time we're in the fantasy playoffs, he's putting up per game production enough to offset this, like where you will be happy to have him. But if you need the roster spot, you can let him go. I'm preferring to hold him for as long as I can.
Same.
Because I think if and when he gets into the role, it could be something really meaningful. And there still is some target ambiguity outside of Odunze. If something weird happens with DJ Moore or something like that. So that's where I'm at with Loveland. I do have him ahead of Harold Fannin because I think it could scale up in a really big way. For as good as Fannin has looked, he looks like a clear hit. I have Fannin ahead of Njoku, ahead of Kyle Pitts. What's the ultimate ceiling outcome, in Cleveland? It's not nearly as good as Loveland potentially in this Bears offense. How are you handling it? Do you have much Loveland?
It's the same spot as you. I do have a good amount. Fortunately for me, at least, I took a bunch of Bowers in auctions, so I didn't then take Loveland in those leagues because I don't want to roster 2 tight ends. It's the only thing that saved me from not taking all Loveland in every league. But I kind of on your point, I'm going to roster him because of my belief in his talent. But I can totally understand if you want to cut him right now if you need to, especially if you have injuries or you just don't have certain positions filled out.
Yeah. Mr. Popinski is in the chat, and he says Cole Kmet is a starter. They're going to need an injury to Kmet for him to matter, which might be true. Kmet has done nothing to lose the job. He's been really good as a blocker. He's the pro here.
Yeah.
But I also think they had such a clear vision when they drafted Loveland. They were so excited when they took him. And so whether that is, coming in, multiple tight end sets, or whether it is that they just view him as a slot receiver. Dan talked a lot about how he thought he could be kind of the Amon-Ra St. Brown role in this offense. Whatever it is, I do think Ben Johnson grabbed this guy for a reason and wanted to use him right away. It might be just a long-term play. We'll see. But I think there's at some point we could see him in a role where he's one of the most important players in the offense. And it doesn't really matter that much that Kmet is there as the starting tight end because they can move him all over the place.
And that's the key. They didn't draft him 10 overall ahead of Tyler Warren to have a redshirt season. The problem is, and I think that's pretty clear to anyone who follows football, it should be at least logically. The problem is there are a lot of signs that the Bears are trending toward a Giants type franchise with Ryan Pace at the helm at GM. Just absolute disaster that can't get anything going and is misevaluating things and just not really cannot be counted on for consistent success. And that's my bigger concern, the offensive environment.
Alrighty, let's finish out. We gave the Loveland, what they needed. Let's finish out the top 169 here. After these tight ends, you've got Hollywood Brown. Push him up if you need him right now. Sure. You've got Cooper Kupp, Romeo Doubs, Kayshon Boutte, Dontavian Wicks, Troy Franklin. Players who are moving up, who might be able to help you right now. I don't really know how sustainable it is, but these are names to know. That if we were drafting today, they would be in my top 150. Rashad White is next. Then you've got Dalton Kincaid and Zach Ertz. Torrey Horton. Hopefully, we're getting there with Torrey Horton. Made some plays in week 2. Love to see it. Tyjae Spears, Ray Davis, Tank Bigsby, Ollie Gordon, DJ Giddens. We're getting into just purely speculative plays. And that's where you find TJ Hawkinson. Huge win for Day in this draft season. He was definitely right about that, is what it looks like here. And now the offense kind of crumbling. You can probably just drop them. Hunter Henry, Dallas Goedert, Brenton Strange, Blake Corum, Jarquez Hunter, Brashard Smith, Caleb Johnson, Jadon Blue, Jalen Royals. If his knee checks out, this is just a name to know. If his knee checks out at any point in the near future, I think that he would be an important part of the offense. Rico Dowdle, Taj Brooks, Keaton Mitchell, Sean Tucker, get Trevor Lawrence up. Trevor Etienne. Trevor Etienne at 169. That completes the ranking set. Any thoughts from you, Dan, or should we get to some listener questions?
On those final players, nothing really. I mean, I could see a speculative ad for a player like Blake Corum. We talked about him earlier, though. So
Yep. Just wanted to give, like, this is how I would organize it, in terms of stashing players at the bottom of deep benches. Depends on what you need, of course.
Yep. All right, let's do some listener questions to end the day.
Heck yeah.
So just a reminder, please, if you're listening in, hit the like button. Please leave a comment, help us grow the show. But if you leave a rating and review on Spotify or iTunes, we haven't done much Spotify yet. We will do those eventually on iTunes or Spotify. We will read that review if you leave a question in it. So that's your best way to get questions answered on the show. We're going to start with Kelsey did it on purpose. What did he do? I'm not sure, but Kelsey did something on purpose. And Kelsey did it on purpose asks, beyond the box score, the GOATs. Thanks, Dan and Jacob. Show is great, guys. In PPR, one flex, 12 team. Would you trade Ricky Pearsall for Javonte Williams? Here's my roster. Hampton, Mason, Harvey, and Benson at running back. Pretty weak there. Puka, BTJ, JSN, Tet, Buka, Pearsall, Addison at receiver. Pretty strong there. Would you do this, Jacob?
Yeah. I mean, we just went through the rankings and Javonte was higher. And it's a clear need here filled.
I'm in on it too. I cannot believe that I'm buying in on Javonte Williams at the peak of his price, but
me either. And I feel pretty good about Pearsall. I think he's looked good, but
yeah,
I've got Javonte at 55, Pearsall at 61, so I'm fine signing off on it.
I feel pretty good about Javonte's situation. Sir Uncle John is next up. Sir Uncle John. I don't know who that is. That's supposed to be some famous person that I'm not aware of, but he cannot get enough of Jacob Gibbs' data. First, massive kudos to Jacob for soloing a 2.5 arrow episode. Arrow, not an arrow.
It's tough to talk for this long. People have made fun of me. They're like, get a real job, weenie. And it's like, you prepare a freaking report and talk for 3 hours straight. Like, Dan is struggling with it right now, splitting the work with me. It's not easy, man. I was at the end of that episode, I was legitimately like, my nose was getting stuffed up because like just my body's like, what the heck is going on? Like, this is not normal.
Yep, us podcasters. There's no tougher job in the world.
There is no tougher job than fantasy football podcasting.
We have it rough here. But he says, what a flex.
I have a stuffy nose.
He's got a stuffy nose. What a flex is right. Jacob is the absolute GOAT. That's my opinion, though. Not Sir Uncle John. So it sounds like he's on board with that. He says his question is he's thin at running back, and he traded Rashee Rice and Jalen Warren. Or no, Rashee Rice for Jalen Warren and Bill Croskey-Merritt immediately after the draft. He's now stacked at receiver in a 3-receiver league. Does this tally as a win? I guess he traded away Rice.
Yeah, he traded Rice for the 2 running backs. I mean, I guess if you really like your receivers, but it's a 3-receiver league, and you saw where I had Rice ranked. Maybe. Especially like doing it right after the draft where like you don't know that Austin Eckler's Achilles is going to blow, like I don't think that was a good move, but it seems like maybe you lucked out. I don't
know if he lucked out though. Like that's my problem with this. Like I think this is the first season we're going to see Arthur Smith's run game take a clear step back. And I think we've seen it so far. I do like Bill, but I'm with you, Jacob. I think when Rice gets back in there, this dude's going to really regret it. And shout out to him for thank you for the review, Uncle John, because I think I'm with you. Rice, like I said, top 12 overall player. I don't think that's that crazy once he's back on the field.
Yeah. If there was no suspension, like Rice probably would have been a top 15 or 20 pick for me this year for PPR.
Yeah. All right. Neil Valdor asks, elite fantasy show beyond the box score with Dan and Jacob. It's my favorite fantasy show, hands down. Data backed, insightful, and a fun listen. I had to let it be known. Thank you. Really appreciate this. Question for the crew. Khalil Shakir, Cedric Tillman, and Matthew Golden. I can only keep one. Who are you taking in half PPR?
I think I know your answer. Who are you taking?
Swing for the fences, Matthew Golden. We're about winning later and not about right now.
Yeah, I've got Golden 85, Tillman at 106, and Shakir at 108 in terms of overall rankings rest of season. I think there's a lot more upside with him.
Clear dub. All right, let's get to RJW 4811. RJW 4811 says, this is the best fantasy podcast out there. Thank you, RJ 4811W. The fellas do a phenomenal job providing nonstop data and league winners. If you want to nerd out and win your league, this is the podcast for you. Thank you. That was a really nice review. Would you trade A.J. Brown for Tet and Harvey in redraft PPR. Interesting.
Yep.
Tetaroa, sorry. He doesn't like to be called Tet.
I would. I have AJB at 23 and Tedero McMillan at 35. So it's not a huge separation. I do think there's a lot more upside with Brown. He could have 12, 15 touchdowns, which I don't think McMillan can get to, but I would do that.
Yeah, I think that's a win for me. It's a long-term bet because we're waiting on a player like Harvey, but I think he'll get there. All right. Swavy Ronnie.
Dan, the listeners have another gripe with pronunciation. You say Merritt. Like it's just Merritt. I believe it's just Merritt.
I don't want to call him Merritt. Bill Croskey-Merritt. Yeah, I did, Johnny Airport. Yeah, I did. What are you going to do? Great opportunity. Love the deep dive into advanced stats and hot takes from you guys. Keep up the great work. I lost Kittle, and now I have to count on Dalton Kincaid for the time being, but I got offered a trade. Tyler McWarren and Tedero McMillan for BTJ.
Easy deal.
You're doing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I am too. I love this deal for you. I love Tyler Warren, first of all. I don't really want BTJ this year at all. I know it's somewhat of a buy low candidate, but I'm not in on it. So take this deal before it's off the table with all the weird stuff going on with BTJ this week. He might have pulled it. Hopefully he didn't. Final question for today. And remember, drop your questions in on iTunes and Spotify, and we'll answer them throughout shows. It's from McW24, Mickey DW. I love the show, boys. Here's my question. Longtime listener decided to finally quit being lazy and leave a review. Thank you. We really appreciate that. This week, I need to pick 2 of 3. Am I crazy for benching AG? Actually, I think this one was a week 2 question because I see to start week 2. So this one we actually will not answer because it's disingenuous. That's all right. Don't say sorry, producer Josh. You're the GOAT. You've done great. Do we have time for one more question, or no?
Sure.
All right. Let me find one then.
Yeah. Thank you to everybody for all the questions and the reviews. We're pushing up, man. We're pushing up. I think we're in the top 10 or 12 fantasy shows, which is pretty freaking cool.
I want to get into that top 10. Yeah. I want to get that. We're just started. I'm happy where we're at, but I want to get in the top 10. Looks like producer Josh is pulling up one more for us here.
You brought up the community side of it. That is really cool. Like genuinely, yeah. I went back during the 3-hour podcast. I just blacked out. I didn't have time to try to keep up with the chat during it, but I went and looked back, and it's like people were in there talking the whole time.
Yeah.
And not like trying to get stuff answered by me. They were just talking to each other. Everybody was just in there joking around and talking about and like answering questions and stuff like that. And it's like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. That's my favorite part about doing this, just getting people involved, making them feel part of the show. I can't wait till we have more inside jokes. That's when I really love doing podcasts. Like my other pod, we have just so many that we come back to. And I think we're going to have a lot of those here. But we have one final question before we sign off. It is from Bishop JC 1222. Awfully smart fellas. Thank you. Hello, Cooper, Terrell, Randy, and Jerry. This is a thing that we do on the FFT show, Jacob. I'm not sure if you're aware of it.
Of course.
Okay, of course you are. I was stupid. It was not a smart.
It's okay, man.
It's 2 hours into a show. Cooper, Terrell, Randy, and Jerry, those are all Hall of Fame receivers. We know that for sure.
Nice, yeah.
Terrell Owens, Randy Moss, Jerry Rice, and Cooper.
That's how I was
wondering. Oh, no, I know what these are. These are probably all Triple Crown winners.
Okay. Yeah.
Dynasty startup this year. I have Pitts and Fannin as my primary tight ends, both in their early 20s. Who would you guys stick with long term?
That's a really interesting question.
I'm back on the Pitts train. I can't believe it.
I know.
He looks so much better out there, man.
I'm gonna go with Fannin.
Okay, that's fair. He's so
Pitts,
awesome too.
There were all the reasons that we were excited about Pitts.
Yeah.
Could be intact, or at least like 85% of that or something like that. He's still so young and he looks good. He looks athletic. He looks a lot like freer in his movements than he has in the past, where he's looked tight and scared and like not quite healthy. He's moving better laterally. He looks explosive, and they're doing some like short target catch and run type stuff for him, you know? In the past couple of years, it's felt like all he can do is work vertically, which is still cool. But like, is that you can't get those quick, easy wins that you need from the slot spot as much with that kind of a player. And so as a result, we've seen more Ray McCloud and stuff like that has the lateral burst that can get you an easy slant or out or whatever you need from that spot. But maybe Pitts is ready to kind of become the person we thought he was.
Yeah.
But Fannin is even younger. He's extremely young. He just started playing tight end 4 years ago. He's crushed every step along the way. And to see him right away as a first game player come in and like make the impact that he did, that's so exciting.
Yeah, I think I'd take it back. I'm saying to stick with Fannin. All right. That's all the questions we have for today. Thank you so much for tuning in to Beyond the Box Score here. Really appreciate everyone who took the time to hit a like button today. Leave a comment. Those are just two great things to help us grow the show. Leave your rating and review on iTunes. We will answer more questions. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.